to call this thing?
I got it. Okay. Incredible, new, fantastic, astonishing, mighty, original, uncanny, sensational podcast.
I'm just going to put down infamous. Hello and welcome to Infamous, the audio podcast. This is Brandon, or Mutilus on the forum.
And this is Parker. Go by Tweak on forums.
This is Jeremy. Go by Janet Van Dyne, Scott Lang, #.com on the forums. Ant-Man. What's that?
Alrighty. That's not what we wanted.
Oh.
Jeremy has problems with words that mostly include his own name.
Ant-Man.
I love everything about that.
All right.
I don't. Who's this guy
quick
posting on the forums
today.
under?
I've been searching and I can't find him. Oh my god, we are never gonna get through this. You guys are too.
Yeah, we could do it.
We went from very low energy monotone to I can't stop laughing.
Ant-Man.
Ant-Man.
Scott. Okay. Okay.
All right, so quick announcements. Sorry we haven't been posting it, or I haven't been posting as many battle reports. I've been a little busy on the weekends of late. There's been some football stuff happening. But luckily this weekend is a bye week, so I will be able to post lots more videos this weekend. I think I just uploaded battle report number 26 this afternoon, and then hopefully we'll have up through like 33 posted by the end of the weekend. So
Yeah.
that's cool. Parker,
That's
why
awesome.
don't you take us into the news?
News. All right. So, big news. Our little fuzzy interdimensional dog boy, Lockjaw, got his panel to play, and it looks like he's going to be kind of a low point support character. We had theories, but it looks like he's a lot of support packages. We didn't find anything out about his offensive ability, so we're not sure if what he has. So maybe it's kind of like Wong, but we do know he can teleport. So that's his trademark thing. Is that he can teleport characters. In this case, in the game, he teleports any character within range 3 of him. It gets immediately placed within range 3 of their current position. So you don't leapfrog over Lockjaw. It's just a range 3 place from where they are. That's similar to what Hawkeye can do. Just a place 3. Also what Miles Morales can do. But now there's a support piece that does that for any character in the game. Interdimensional.
Far.
Yeah, that is really far. The fact that currently in the game we've only had a few characters that can move that place that far, and now anybody can do it with Lockjaw on your team. Interdimensional Bloodhound is a 3 power ability. Any enemy character gets debuffed, and that debuff is for the rest of that round. They receive +1 attack dice thrown at them by friendlies to Lockjaw. So Lockjaw says that guy is going to get extra attack dice for the rest of the round, and it is infinite range. So for 3 power, Lockjaw just does it to somebody. And then the last ability was kind of ambiguous. It's meant to enable that kit because 3 power is a fair amount of power. But Who's a Good Boy is the last ability. If he has an ally in short range of him, then he gets 3 power and they just kind of described it being somebody tells him he's a good boy. So we don't know exactly what that is, but they described it very ambiguously. So potentially he is a little power battery if he has friendlies near him. We don't know precisely how that happens. Maybe it's just if he activates near them. Maybe it's a power. Something he has to activate if somebody's close, or maybe something somebody else has to activate for him. But
assumedly, he probably doesn't have a long range attack unless he also shoots laser beams out of his face.
He doesn't. In the comics.
Right. So if he's only getting the 1 power a turn, even with the faction ability, and even with this, he's still only getting 5. So unless his teleport ability only costs 2, which I would assume it costs more than 2, because we've never seen an ability like that cost less than 3 if you move other people at that range. Yeah, so he's probably able to do one, maybe both, but probably just one a turn without a lot of help.
Is
But yeah,
Lockjaw an
another cool
alien,
thing.
or did he like eat
No,
some of those particles, or what happened?
He's an inhuman dog.
Yeah, so he was a canine. He was a regular canine from planet Earth, and they tried Terrigen Mist in utero. So he was born already Terrigenized, and that's what Lockjaw is. Yeah, he was. They were doing experiments on other species to see if non-Kree, basically non-genetically enhanced Kree life forms on planet Earth could receive the Terrigen Mist, and Lockjaw is a result of one of those experiments. Most of them fail, obviously. He's extraordinary that he didn't. They didn't fail for him.
I don't buy it, but go ahead.
Yeah, sounds made up.
It is. It is quite made up. Quite.
Literally made up.
So, do you guys have thoughts on Lockjaw? That he seemed to me like a really cool support piece. I see him actually. I see you playing him in the Inhumans.
He's not an auto-include staple in every fucking list. But yeah, if he's like a 3-point character that moves your other characters and gives you extra attack dice, I assume there's going to be some like Inhuman keyword requirements somewhere in his kit. But yeah, if he just like, oh hey, I generate 4 power a turn and I move your characters around and increase your attack dice, like I don't want to see him in every single list forever.
Yeah, it's interesting.
Is that what you were doing?
No. What I did as soon as you said the Inhuman keyword, I immediately checked because another thing that came out is his personal tactics card, and I was like, "Ooh, does his tactics card say Inhuman on it?" And it does not anywhere, so he could use this anywhere. So
yeah,
are we able to move on to his tactics card? Said tactics card, are you guys?
Sure.
Okay, so his particular tactics card, while we're on the subject, is called Last Minute Save. In the comic books, he is absolutely famous for this. One of my favorite moments in the comic books actually is him doing a last-minute save where he teleports a big bad guy and a world-ending bomb, to another planet, so another planet gets destroyed with the big bad guy. And with a trademark woof, he leaves him there, and everybody explodes. It's wonderful. So last-minute save works a lot like that. When another ally within range 3 dies, so when they would be KO'd, Lockjaw can spend 3 power right then as a reaction, and a tactics card, of course, to immediately prevent that death. They're not KO'd. Remove 1 damage from the KO'd character and place them within range 2 of Lockjaw. So the character, in order for this to happen, the character itself has to be within range 3 of Lockjaw, and Lockjaw has to have 3 power, and you have to add the tactics card. But it's like a field dressing and a teleport to Lockjaw as a reaction. So, last minute save. What do you guys think of that?
So, couple important things. It is remove 1 damage or still be KO'd. So, it's another place where Grievous Wounds and maybe more anti-healing effects are important. It does only remove 1 damage. It doesn't place them incredibly far away necessarily, but possibly very far away, because I'm pretty sure Lockjaw's on a medium base, and so if you range 3 from a medium base, range 2 on the other side, plus the base width of the person you're saving, potentially you're putting them more than range 5 away. So that does put them in a very interesting spot. But because we've physically seen the card, it doesn't mention anything about objective tokens, right?
Yeah, it doesn't mention anything about them.
So it says if you would be KO'd instead, right? It doesn't. You don't actually get KO'd.
Yeah, it says if it would be KO'd, he may spend 3. They immediately remove 1. They are not KO'd and place within 1. So yeah, 2. So yeah,
immediately the situation I'm seeing is you have the Kree power core, and someone goes to kill you, and you just go range 7 away. Surprise, goodbye, and you're like, okay, well this seems very fair. So that's the kind of interactions I like to not see. Like, a lot of the other big movement cards are objective proof, like Mothership is. So hopefully we don't see a bunch of dumb ways to manipulate that. But other than that, it seems okay. Like, 3 cost is a lot. He does potentially generate a lot of power, but he also has a lot of expensive abilities. So this might be something he can't really use that often. So maybe it's okay. Right. But mainly, all the Inhuman stuff just seems to have very strong cards so far. So we'll see.
Yeah, one of the things I noticed about the card immediately is if he is only getting like 3 or 4 power a turn, the chances for him to use last minute save and also do anything that he has on his card is very low. It reminds me kind of Age of Ultron, where yes, it's an awesome card, but it costs so much power, it it restricts the way the model is used. So
Yeah.
So anyway, speaking of cards, there's one more Inhuman card. This one called Elemental Infusion. It's Crystal's card. So we learned a little bit about Crystal last podcast, but Crystal is the Elementalist in the Inhumans, and she has a card Elemental Infusion, which says that she can spend 2 power to basically put a range 3 bubble around herself for a round. If any enemy within that bubble suffers damage during that round, then they also gain your choice of Incinerate, Stun, or Slow. So you can it basically adds a debuff on top of any damage a enemy receives, as long as Crystal is within 3 of them for that turn. So at least it forces Crystal to go early and spend 2 power, but
it also restricts range bans. Range 3 isn't super far, especially for a blaster type character. So she's probably not going to want to have too many people within range 3 of her, so probably realistically going to be hitting 1 or 2 people. It does give 2 really good effects in Incinerate and Stun, but it's after damage has already been applied. So I don't know, this seems like a B+ card to me. I don't know. Like, it's probably good, but honestly, like we've just said, they already have so many good tactics cards, and there's already so many that are required to put in your roster that I don't know if this makes the cut. It just seems good, not great.
Handing out Incinerate's kind of cool.
Mm-hmm. But the problem being that if you're incinerating someone after they've taken damage, if you assume that they haven't taken any damage yet, then at most, they're going to be incinerated for 4 or 5 more damage, unless they're like the Hulk, in which case it didn't really matter.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. It's good, like I said. I just don't know that it's like game bending, which is what the other tactics cards have been.
Yeah,
go
ahead.
I was just gonna say, stunning someone like Hulk or Thor is a big deal, so that's nice. Incinerating someone like Captain America is really nice, but I don't know that it's that big of a deal.
It'd also be interesting because it says, if you daze her, or if she's KO'd, of course, it doesn't work. So you can't just daze her. And we'll see. It'll be interesting to see if she has any sort of defensive stats or defensive abilities that allow her to stay alive a little bit longer. Because if she's within range 3 of your team anyway, it might be useful to kill her, and then on top of it, you put a big sign on her face that says "Kill me faster" or take debuffs. So it's kind of, maybe it depending upon the strategic use, maybe it's kind of like a taunt type card where you're forcing people to look at you, but.
So downside is, obviously, she basically has to go first. She's probably playing it for herself as much as anybody else.
Right.
But because she's the elementalist person, I'm pretty sure she's going to be able to incinerate people anyway. And so that kind of removes a lot of the potency of it. I think one of the intended interactions is that you'll play it with her, and then later in the turn, use Lockjaw to put her in position to better utilize it after they've activated key characters. And so I think that's kind of intended to make it better, but I don't know if that is a swinging point for me. Like, the other cards that they've already spoiled for this faction are already crazy strong. So, like, this is obviously, to me, the weakest. This is like to me, my X-Men of this faction, I think. It seems really good, but in practice, I don't know that's actually that good.
If the one interesting thing maybe is if you aren't playing Crystal in the faction and you want a bunch of debuffs for some theme or some interaction, then maybe you could put her in, put her card, because it's not an Inhuman card, a second unaffiliated card, but Crystal required, so maybe there's use of it there. But
like I said, I'm pretty sure that she's already going to apply a lot of these effects herself.
Yeah.
And then even on top of that, you could just play Hawkeye, like you could play Star-Lord. Like, I just feel like it's kind of meh. Mm-hmm. I can say right now that there's a lot of lists this wouldn't make for me, and I don't play Crystal. Like, it's just assuming she was already in the list, I probably wouldn't play this card.
Right.
Like, we can't get Recal into a list. How is this card going to make it?
True. Yeah, I think one of the things about this is it's got the new, X-Men logo on the bottom. So if they do decide, let's, cut out, 40 to 60% of the, tactics cards in the game, now maybe this becomes more alluring for an Inhuman list or a list with Crystal.
Well, yeah, if the entire restricted list gets banned, then yeah, that would open up a lot of space.
Yep. So, that was the main news we have for this week, which is not a small amount.
Yeah, it's decent news spoiler.
Yeah.
Parker, we need you to change your forum name to Trademark Wolf. Is that possible?
I can try. Woof. I love Lockjaw's battle cry. It's awesome.
Oh, do you?
Mm-hmm.
Does it say like the trademark symbol woof? Or does it say like that was a narrator saying his trademark woof?
My favorite part of is the setup of that moment when he teleports the bad guy and the bomb to another planet is the mad Inhuman, Black Bolt's brother. Oh no, I can't believe I'm blanking on his name. This makes me so mad.
His name is Shazam, right? Black Adam.
Do that.
Black Adam, that's his name.
Don't do that to me.
Don't do
contaminate my good
Don't
universe
do
with your
that.
dumb universe.
I'm not gonna fill this. I'm not gonna fill this with ums. I'm just gonna look it up so I can say it.
Well, I'll tell a quick story while you're looking that up. But the story that we were talking about before we started recording, there's a novel short story I was reading where Kang takes over the planet, and while he's the God Emperor of the planet, he has to take on the responsibilities of all the heroes he killed to take over the planet, because he killed the Avengers and the Fantastic Four and everybody else in a surprise nuclear strike on the planet. And so he's now responsible for fending all these horrible evils off from the planet. And so Galactus shows up and wants to eat the planet. And so he's fighting alongside the Inhumans and Namor and the Atlanteans and all these other people. And they're about to lose. Galactus is like literally just mowing through their armies. And the Silver Surfer's there messing everybody up. And Crystal and Lockjaw snap into existence. And she's holding this little black gun, which is called the Nullifier. And immediately Galactus freezes in place. He's like, wait, you don't know what you're doing? And he's like, well, you need to leave or I'm going to fire this gun. And he's like, if you did that, it would destroy this entire galaxy. Like, you cannot pull the trigger. And so Kang is like, well, this is an interesting situation. Like, we're kind of stuck here because we don't trust you to leave if we give you the gun because you were just trying to kill all of us. And you don't trust us to keep the gun, so eventually Kang makes the decision to take the gun from Crystal and give it to Galactus and trust that he'll leave, and he does. And then Lockjaw's like, I saved the world. Because he teleported into Galactus' ship and stole the gun.
Yeah, the Ultimate Nullifier is a fun trope that's been in a lot of stuff. It pops up all over the Marvel Universe. I found out what his name is. It's an Inhuman called Maximus the Mad, and he has a bunch of mental powers, and he's a super genius, and he can manipulate other people's minds. But the Terrigen Mist turned him crazy. Like his genius has warped him and his sense of right and wrong. And in this scene, the bad guy's going to win. She has this bomb. And she's like, I'm going to take it out, and I'm a nihilist, and everybody's going to die with me. And so he goes, and so Maximus just appears and says, so here's your bomb that I just triggered, and here's me telling you that you forgot about the most dangerous thing in the room. Lockjaw immediately appears from nowhere, teleports the bomb and her to another planet. Woof. And she blows up. I love everything about that. The most dangerous thing in the room. By the way, in the room was Black Bolt, Doctor Strange, Mr. Fantastic, Black Panther, and the most dangerous thing in the room was the dog. I loved it. It's so good. I love that dog.
I feel like the Sorcerer Supreme probably could have figured out a way to deal with the bomb. But, sure. The dog. We'll go with the dog for now.
I love it.
All right, Parker, we're done with your stall tactics. All right, so that's going to move us into our main topic for today. That's going to take approximately 3.9598 hours to complete, which is rating the Avengers. However, due to the way we have, separated the factions into other factions, because if people are in multiple factions, we basically lump them into the smaller group to make rating easier. The characters we are rating today are Ant-Man, Black Widows 1 and 2, Captain America, Captain Marvel, Iron Man, Vision, and Wasp are the characters we'll be rating today. For any of the other Avengers, please see our other rating episodes or rating episodes to come. That was very clear. They definitely know where to go now, guys.
Mm-hmm.
You did it.
All right. So, Parker, why don't you take us into Ant-Man?
All right. So first up in order of importance to the faction is Ant-Man.
Just remember, we're on a time limit here.
Got it. Where's
Turn the card sideways.
Good
that's
job
the
so
problem.
far.
Yeah,
Yeah,
turn
that's
it
the
Turn the
problem.
card
Wow.
sideways.
It's
All these
all the
letters seem
words,
sideways.
all the words are running up and down. What the heck? Okay, so Ant-Man. Ant-Man only is one of the most complicated characters in the game. So complicated they had to put him in landscape mode in order to fit all of his special rules. But he is both a size 2 character and a size 1 character. He can have medium speed or small speed depending upon what size he is. His stats, no matter what size he is, he has 3 physical defense, 2 energy, and 3 mystic. He has 5 health on both sides, and he costs 3 points total. So when he's a big guy and he has speed as movement and his size in 2, he has Pim Particle Punch, which is his basic 2 range, 4 power. He gets all the power for that attack. And then he may, right after that attack is resolved, turn into the tiny version of himself. He immediately drops all objective tokens. When he is large, he can
Just
also...
for the record, I'm sorry to cut you off, but any time in this game, if you can no longer hold objective tokens, you drop them. And while tiny, you can't hold objectives. So just for clarity, you don't have to read that every time.
Got it.
That's just a staple game rule.
Got it. If this attack, his second ability, Bullet Ant Barrage, is a beam 3 attack for 7 power and 7 attack dice, 4 power. If this attack deals damage, after this attack is resolved, that character gains poison and stun. So bullet ants do a number on anybody in that beam, if they get damaged. On his big side, for 1 power, he can change size, which is exactly what it sounds like. He just immediately turns into his tiny version. And then also, when this character is targeted by an enemy attack or would suffer a collision, he can immediately do the same thing. He can spend 1 power to turn tiny. While tiny, he is speed short. Size 1, he has an ant-sized uppercut, which is a range 1 attack, costs 0 power, has 6 dice on it though. After this attack is resolved, he immediately gains power equal to the damage, and he can immediately transform back to normal size. He has to. He just does. His character does transform. Yeah. And then, of course, he has the change size ability, like on the front side, so he can go big. He also has, while he's small, a 0-cost power called Hitch a Ride. He jumps on the back of an ant and can place within 3 of his current location. On his small side, he is stealth, and he has the tiny superhero rule, which means he can reroll any number of defense or dodge dice, and he can't hold the objective tokens again. So his backside is identical in every way, just 5 more health on the backside. So that is Ant-Man. Now that we know a little bit about him, Brandon, what do you think about his offensive potential? How would you what kind of offensive things can Ant-Man do?
Well, one term comes to mind immediately when you look at his attacks, and it's snake oil. These attacks look amazing, but they have a lot of butts attached to them. His ant-sized uppercut sounds great until you realize you basically can't do it almost ever. The way these characters work is basically if you can pre-plan well in advance, you're set up to succeed. If you get caught in a weird situation, you're set up to fail. So ant-sized uppercut is great unless you can't afford to change size again, because the change size superpower is restricted to once per turn. And so you can't walk up to somebody, you can't shrink, place, punch, and shrink again and punch. Like, you have to already be small. And so there's just a lot of weird stuff going on. The Bullet Ant Barrage is actually pretty solid, though. It's one of the better attacks that we've seen on a 3-point character. But then as you see, his Pim Particle Punch is only 4 dice. It's pretty garbage. That's my thoughts.
Jeremy, what do you think about the offensive potential?
I'll follow up with the Bullet Ant Barrage is really solid. The rest of it, however, is just like kind of bananas. Like a 1-inch ranged thing that turns you big. Then you got to go small, and it's very complicated. For 3 points, I think we could go in a lot of directions. It's very weird. That's how
It's
I feel.
also hard. Like, how do you gain power with this character? Like, you basically have to go to range 1 and punch them, right? Like, the ant-sized uppercuts is the only way to gain power. Like, it's the only way to do bullet ant barrage. But because you have to change size constantly, you're going to spend a bunch of your power doing that. So I just don't see you actually getting bullet ant barrage off very often.
Yeah, and I mean, you win this game by holding objectives and doing stuff and the fact that you know for a fact Ant-Man isn't going to be the one getting you points, like that just doesn't happen.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe it does.
Yeah.
Maybe there's someone smarter than that's like, I know exactly how to game this. You drop it, then you pick it up.
It's not that it doesn't work. Like, looking at this, I can tell you that every turn you'll be able to get an ant-sized uppercut off. Like, it's just going to happen because you'll spend a power, shrink in size. You could then move and hitch a ride, and then do a range 1 attack. Like, that's doable. But if I was telling you, it's like the golden age of this character is doing 1 6-dice attack per round, that's not that impressive. Like, it really isn't, even for a 3-cost character.
Also, then you're not using the defensive potential he has when he's tiny. Like, you're never seeing stealth or tiny happen.
Right. And so then you're spending even more power to get back small. And it's just like, okay, well, but I don't know. I guess the ultimate situation is you start small, hitch a ride, do an ant-sized uppercut, and follow it up with a bullet ant barrage, right? Like, that's the perfect turn, which means you weren't holding an objective, you started small, and you spent 4 power. So if you can get 4 power off of your ant-sized uppercut, or at least 3, and you gained 1 at the start of the turn, you're okay. It's just like, how many times is that going to happen? Like, from playing Thor, I mean, obviously 6 dice is good, but the amount of times that you can whiff on a 6-dice attack is pretty lame. He also only does physical damage, which is just not great.
The one thing that I will say is, if you are attacked with, attacks that don't daze him, right? So not an energy attack, and not a heavy physical attack, or 2 attacks in a row. But if you, like, there's so many ifs, right? But if somebody just fires 1 attack off on him, he might have a power on himself to go small. Or maybe if they do 2 attacks, and his second time he can go small and he can repeat it. So it's not that he won't be able to do the thing, but doing it consistently, and then the best case scenario is he's moving, he's ant-sized, then bullet ant barrage, then the person he just did is dazed, or poisoned and stunned, so they're not able to retaliate very well. Somebody attacks him, he immediately takes, he's immediately able to pin particle control. It'd be best if he had 1 extra power and he could do that, which would be crazy. But if he did, then he immediately,
Right.
pin particle controls, and then he goes tiny and stealth, and now people can't wail on him, and he's able to start it all over again the next turn. So there is there's a cycle, but you have
Stealth
to get
isn't that
everything.
useful when your only offense is melee range. Like,
Right.
How
Yes.
is that helping you? Like,
Yeah.
it's like his best defenses don't participate. Like,
Uh-huh.
you have to get close to people. It's not like the rerolls on defense is nice, but rerolling 2 dice isn't helping you very much. He's extremely weak to the best damage type in the game. I don't know. That's not really what we're talking about right now, I guess. Let's save that for defense.
Yeah, but
I think we're ready for numbers.
Yep,
Sorry,
go
we're
ahead.
getting sidetracked.
Go ahead, Brandon.
Am I first on numbers?
Yeah.
I give him a 5 on offense. It's his best trait.
Jeremy, what are you thinking?
If you give him a 5, I'll give him a 4, because you can only basically do 1 attack, really, ever. So, 4.
I was actually leaning to 4 also, and the only reason why I gave him a 4 is Bullet Ant Barrage is super strong, but the chances he gets to use it are low.
He doesn't generate a lot of power.
Yeah, I feel like he might get one off a game, and you're like, cool, I spent 3 points and a whole bunch of weird conditional situations to get a Bullet Ant Barrage. I don't think it's not the nuke. If it was 9 power and, also immediately staggered, I'm like, I guess you could take him, but it's not, so... Yeah, 4.
Actually, it was just energy. Like, just an energy attack would honestly be a big deal. All right, so 4 it is. I'm outvoted. Moving on to defense. So defensive things, he has a very bad stat line. 3-2-3 is very poor. However, he does get to reroll defense dice while he's in his small form, and it appears to be that his goal is to get into small form as quickly as possible and stay there for as long as possible. I don't know that saves you. It certainly makes you more survivable, but I don't know. It's kind of meh. Jeremy, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, when I see the rerolls on his defense. Like, I'm like, well, it's pretty average as it is, and you know how those dice go. So I imagine he makes 1 or 2 saves, maybe 1 each time, which is better than not. It's okay. I'll give him that.
Yeah. It's about equivalent to Spider Senses, and those guys die, and they're not energy defense too.
Yeah, the fact that stealth is on a character that has to get within range 3 of something to start his like chain anyway is really sad. Basically,
really,
stealth
is
only
1.
Yeah. So
his combo only works if he gets to range 1.
Right, but I'm saying if he hitches a ride, right, he can place within range 3.
Sure.
So like stealth is one of those things. It's helping him to avoid damage from like downtown other characters that might have just like a random range 4 against him, but that's not very useful in the game, and so he's going to be relying on the rerolls almost all the time, and it would be awesome if he was 3-3-3, or man, if he was like 4-2-3, I'd begin to think about that's kind of cool because against every physical attack he's rerolling all 4 dice. That's cool, but at 3-2-3 is just so below the curve. The rerolls don't get him back up on top of it, I don't think. So go ahead, Randy, give him a number.
I think on defense,
mm-hmm.
I think it has to be a 4. He's better than a 3s across the board character, if only that he's mobile. But like, and the reroll dice is better than being energy defense 3, but it's worse than being 3 with rerolls. Yeah, he's just not overly inspiring. He's not defensive enough to feel like he's hard to kill. He's just slightly better than your average person. I'd say a 4.
So I think he's a little bit better than average, and he's a little bit better than a 4. I mean, he comes with stealth. He comes with tiny, because you're going to be that when he ends. That's kind of the point. So I'll give him 5.
If he was always going to be small, then I think I'd agree with the 5. But I think, honestly, there's going to be turns where you can't afford it. Like, he doesn't get the Avengers bonus because you can't reduce the cost to 0. So none of his superpowers generate from the Avengers affiliation, which is another reason that he doesn't get played.
Ugh, that's true, huh?
Yeah, so you're spending the power you get every turn to turn small, which means he's only getting the power he gets from dealing damage, which is just like, okay. Like, even with a 6 dice attack, he gets like 1 or 2 extra power, but now you're large, so you have to spend to go small again. And so it's like, what do? Like, do you try and save the power and take hits, or do you go small again? So you just never get to 4 power. I don't know. It's very meh.
I would say good.
How about this? Let's look at other people. What did we put Spider-Man at? Because he's worse than Spider-Man, right? We all agree that he's worse than Peter Parker?
Because of energy, sure.
Peter Parker got a 4. Peter Parker got a 4 out of 10. So did Miles.
Miles
we can't rate him higher than Miles.
No, we cannot.
Miles got a 4 out of 10.
Correct.
Yeah, so he gets a 4. Parker, do you agree?
Yeah, I was going to say absolutely a 4. Stealth maybe gets him to the fight without getting wiped early, but that's it. And then tiny.
Think about this though. Mm-hmm. The stealth doesn't kick in until after they've targeted you. Right. If you're large size and you've already changed size once, like let's say you get stuck in medium size, right, or in large size. You go to attack somebody, or you're in small. You attack somebody with uppercut. You get big. Now you're stuck. If they don't attack you until the next turn, you're still medium, and you change size. You can't change size again. So you're stuck in large size. They shoot you at range 5. You can't shrink until after they've targeted you, which means they've already targeted you. So stealth doesn't help you. Like, his stealth is only useful if you shrink before they shoot you.
Right, that's what I think the character is, like, if I played the character, which I haven't yet, and I might eventually because I love Ant-Man, the person, the character, but if I played him, I would actually play him small through the first engagement, right? Maybe he moves, maybe on the first turn he moves 1 medium, but then he's immediately shrinking and hitch a ride, and then he is small until he engages the first time. That's why I think stealth is useful to get him to the place where he starts doing his chain, but then it's useless after that for the reason you just said.
I think it's very presumptuous to assume they would ever attack Ant-Man intentionally. There's
right,
way more
that's what I'm saying.
Targets.
Exactly. Yeah, I'm saying that's how it's useful. That's why he's a 4. He's got 2 defensive rules, and both of which are difficult to use on him. That means he can't be more than a 4. I agree.
Yeah. All right. Anyway, moving on to support. We're going way too slow here. We need to pick it up.
Go ahead.
Support. He does 0 support.
Yep.
Correct.
So 1 out of 10. Next, control. Stun is, I guess, technically a control factor of his 4-cost ability that we've already said we don't think he'll probably use very often. Maybe once a game. 2 if you're really lucky. I guess he's going to take a shitload of damage as soon as he engages somebody. So I mean, there's some power for you.
He'll take a good hit for you.
Yeah.
It's like a bodyguard.
So you get
but not
judged
good.
when you attack somebody. He goes in, tries to punch Ronan, he gets judged, and then dies with 0 power. I'm so sad. I mean, I'm putting him at a 1. Randomly stunning on a 4-cost attack is not worth anything to me, unless you guys think it's better.
Nope.
No.
In fact, I would say he should have a negative support or control however you rate it, because he can't pick up fucking objectives.
Makes your list worse.
So
by
roll.
being in it.
He's obviously a skirmisher, right?
Mm-hmm.
All right, so obviously a skirmisher. So we've got a 4-4-1-1 skirmisher. I guess this is where we talk about stuff. I don't think he's overly impressive. I think, obviously, in this game, as much as any other game, you can play whatever you like to play with, and you'll be okay. You might not be optimal, but you'll be, like, competitive. And so I'm not saying you can't play him. I'm just saying that playing him adds nothing to your list. He doesn't synergize with anybody. Even his own card doesn't synergize with anything. He doesn't do anything that other people want, and he doesn't want anything that other people do. I can't even think of a faction affiliation other than Web Warriors that he even kind of likes. And he doesn't help them because he's not a scenario model. Like,
He likes Cyclops. He likes
Oh,
X-Men.
yeah?
Cyclops. Yeah. Bullet Ant Barrage
Why?
would be he can pay for that.
Okay, so we're going to take Ant-Man and then have 4 X-Men donate power to the worst model in your list so that he's only kind of bad. You know what you could do with that 4 power in X-Men is do your Beam 5 7 Dice Energy Barrage from Cyclops, which is the worst model in X-Men. All right, just shut up, Jeremy. You're not allowed to talk.
I'm just saying.
I got loud.
He likes them. He likes them. Ant-Man likes them. They don't like him.
Yeah, exactly. He's a parasite. Literally a parasite. All right, Jeremy, what's your rating? Do you have anything to say about Ant-Man?
There's nothing to be said. I don't have anything to say
All right.
about him.
If you like Ant-Man, play Ant-Man. He's fine, but he doesn't add to any list. If you're looking for synergy, it's not here. You might even say he has a tiny amount of synergy. Very tiny. Like almost like an ant-sized amount of synergy.
A PEM particle.
I will say this. I've talked about Ant-Man before because he just seems like he steps on his own feet so hard. So many characters have kits similar to him, and then somehow execute it so well. I always compare him to Miles actually because their kits are similar. They're supposed to be like move around, placing 3, jumping and fighting, and getting stealth. And Miles does all of that so well in such a cool, fun kit, and Ant-Man can't do any of those things at all. And it's
Ant-Man
so sad.
and Miles are actually exactly the same character if you think about it.
Yeah.
Because they both are really good about getting extract tokens from enemies and keeping them. And they're like the opposite in that. like one of them actively loses his own, and the other one actively takes opponents.
Yeah.
Oh wait, there's one of these is better. All right. So I'm looking at other low ratings we've given. We actually haven't given a lot of bad ones. Ebony Maw got a 1, and he'll probably be the lone one for a long time. 2s, we gave a 2 to Gamora, and that's the only 2 we've given. Of 3s we've given out is Hela, Queen of Hell, Crossbones, Okoye. I think I'm feeling a 3 then. I think he's
that was a
in the
mistake.
realm of those characters. What, for Okoye?
I think we've got a mistake in there. Just saying.
Oh, which one?
Okoye. I think she's a lot better than
Okoye's
3,
fine. She just doesn't. I mean, she's just a bodyguard. You can't just throw her in a list. It's all about synergy. Like she synergizes well with people that need bodyguards, but other
Ant-Man
than that,
is
she
not
doesn't add
okay.
a lot.
So Ant-Man isn't
Okoye is better than Ant-Man.
close to Okoye. We'll say that.
Yeah. Oh man, I just had a really bad thought. I'm gonna move past it though. So I'm saying a 3. What do you guys think?
Ugh. I think a 2, but I think there's people that are fans of Ant-Man that I just can't stomach it. Like it's terrible to feel that way. I think he's a cool guy. He's a cool bro. Like, but I'll never play with him. I just won't.
That felt like a very reluctant 2. All right.
It hurts.
You can't polish a turd. He's a 2.
All right. 2 it is. I got outvoted. Let the record show I tried to give him a 3. Okay, so one thing I did want to say once we started rating the Avengers is I think the Avengers get an unfair rap, and the Ant-Man Wasp conundrum does not add a lot to this argument. But if you look at the starter box characters, conveniently, a lot of the really boring ones that are obviously like starter blocks, learn to play rules, core set stuff, you got Iron Man and Captain America are both very straightforward, obvious, basic models. Even Captain Marvel, who is probably the most complicated Avenger in the starter box, is very one-dimensional, right? But on the other side, you got Cabal members like Zemo and Red Skull, which are actually fairly complicated, like interesting synergy pieces. But then you just don't see the Crossbones type characters that came in that box because they got immediately outshadowed by MODOK and Killmonger. So I think it's just unfair the rap that Avengers get a lot of the time. So moving on, who's up next? We got Black Widow, the original.
Yeah.
The Coke Zero of Black Widows.
Wouldn't she be like the original Pepsi Cola? Wouldn't that be like
this Coca-Cola Classic?
Yeah, Classic. That's what it is.
All right.
So Black Widow Classic is a 2-cost character. She's got an interesting stat line. She has 4 health on the front side and the back side. Speed long, very fast 2-point character. She has 3 physical defense, 2 energy defense, and 4 mystic defense. Her regular strike is an energy, range 2, and after she gains power for that, and she has a wild on that, Widow's Sting. After this attack is resolved, the target character loses 1 power. She has a range 3 pistol that costs 0 and has 4 attack dice. It doesn't do anything special. And then Mixed Technique for 2 power at range 2 for 4 attack dice. If it deals damage, the target is staggered. No wild necessary. And also on a wild, elusive. After this attack is resolved, the character may advance short. She has her special abilities, Counter Strike with 2 power. So if you tried to hit her with an attack, she can, if you're within 3 range of her, she rolls 4 dice and deals 1 damage to you for every critical and wild rolled. Martial Artist all the time. It's a passive ability that gives her, when she defends against physical and energy attacks within 2 inches, she gets to add blanks to defense rolls. And Stealth, which is your character must be within 3 to target her with attacks. And her backside is entirely identical. So, Brandon, what do you think about her offensive potential? She does have 3 different attacks. What do you think about her offense?
You mean the lack thereof?
Yeah.
There's a reason this model only rolls 4 dice on attacks. It's because the rest of her kit's really strong for 2 points. Important thing to note that I think a lot of people don't realize because they don't get attacked by her a lot is her 2-cost attack, Mixed Technique, actually staggers people, which is important to know. And it's on damage, so a lot of people don't realize that. Unfortunately, you have to deal damage with the 4 dice attack, but it is super cheap. That's what I got to say. Jeremy?
Are we going to put Counter-Strike as a defense, or is this offense?
It's an offensive rule.
I think Counter-Strike is super strong. Her strike, her offense kind of sucks.
Keep in mind she has to survive the attack.
Correct, and almost every model in the game can survive an attack, and usually she'll have the power to do it. And, I mean, we've all played that game where we can't get any damage through because they're rolling hot dice. This one usually will get 1 or 2. I mean, and that's just damage. They just take it, which is solid.
Sure.
I like Counter-Strike a lot.
I think she's one of those characters that you don't see her offense get used very much, and that's kind of to her benefit, right? She's utilized primarily as, we'll talk about it later, as an objective piece, moving around objectives very quickly for 2 points. But the fact that she does have 3 different attacks, so she has options. She has an energy strike, which isn't nothing. Is she ever going to kill people? Are you going to count on her to be an offensive key character? No.
No.
But could she do 1 damage and stagger somebody? could they have a weak to energy defense? If they have 2 energy defense, are they Ant-Man? Then maybe you could strike them and actually do 2 or 3 damage.
Ant-Man is one of the models that she would still lose to in combat.
Yep.
Let's not lie about this. She's probably gonna get 1 or 2 counter strikes off in a game because she's going to die first. If you know how to play against her defensive kit, she does die. You just have to attack her from range 3, not within range 2. Like, that's all you have to do. And she just falls down. She's super weak to energy, especially. Like, if you have a range 3 energy attack, like, she just gets blown up.
Well, we're not talking defense right now. We're talking offense.
Right, but I mean, on offense, like, but it matters for Counter-Strike if you're not going to survive any attacks to use Counter-Strike, is what I'm saying.
Right.
So you'll get a couple Counter-Strikes, which will probably do 2 to 4 damage. And then her regular attacks are usually going to do, like, 1. Like, she is a very, very, very low offensive output.
So how would you rate her, Brandon? Go ahead, go into it. How would you rate her with a low offensive output?
2? Counter-Strike, you could maybe argue 2.5, but I'm really not comfortable going above 2. Like, this is the example of low damage models, right?
That's correct. I'd give her a 2 as
like,
well.
What's lower than this? Wong?
Wong
might be the only one lower.
Oh man, I was going to give her a 3 because she's got 3 different attacks. One of them's an energy. One of them's an energy attack.
One of them is bad strike. Like, it's a 4 dice range 3.
Yeah. I get it. I'm not saying that she's fantastic. She's not fantastic, but I did not think she is down there with Wong. I don't think how can she be with when you're describing Counter-Strike and 2 other attacks that Wong doesn't have? I feel like that's because her job one more.
Her job isn't to attack people. Like, her job is to run away.
Cool. That's great. That when we talk about her role and her rating, we can talk about that. But we talk about her offense. If we're talking about rating her in the game, I don't think she can be a 2.
Okay,
I'm gonna go 3, and you guys can outvote me.
Name the characters that do less damage than her.
Okay, we got Wong, right?
Okay, keep going.
Let me look at the list. I'll look at the list.
Look at all the characters in the game, and when you come up with less than 5, we can rate her a 2.
The dog does less.
The dog probably hits noticeably harder than her. She does not have the ability to roll 5 dice on an attack roll. You know how many characters that's true of? That, like, basically none.
That is funny. Pick up your 4 dice. What are you going to do to me?
Yeah.
You know what? Looking at our ratings, based upon like what we've done on the ratings, I don't like that she's a 2. She feels like a 3 based upon like the variety of her kit, but I guess she's got to be a 2 based upon the ratings.
So Groot's a 3, and he hits way harder than she does.
And that's exactly what I just saw. I was like, Groot's a 3.
Yeah.
She's got to be a 2, I guess. Go ahead.
Like, it's fine. Like, her job isn't to do damage. Like, it's not a negative of her. It's like, look at her kit. She costs 2 points. Like, what did you expect her to do? Okoye hits harder than she does. Noticeably.
Oh, way harder. Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, much.
So that's fine. She's a 2. We'll just move on. All right. Got some defense. Like I said, she's surprisingly hard to get a hold of, but if you get a hold of her in the correct way, she actually is kind of squishy. That being said, you do have to be able to line up all of the effects. If you don't have a range 3 energy attack that you can devote to killing her, you're actually not in a great spot. That's all I'll say. I'll let Jeremy finish it up.
Yeah, it's a thing when you get to use your blanks as defense. That's a thing. So with nothing else, that's great. The rest of her kit, if you pull out and you have a range 2.5 gun, she's gonna go. Like, she's gonna die from it. But if most everybody else has to move within 2. There you go. So she can use her defense dice mostly.
I haven't done the math on it. I'm curious. I'm gonna do it real fast. So I was gonna say she doesn't get to use blanks against mystic attacks, but obviously she has a 4 mystic defense, so she's kind of strong against that anyway. So let's see real quick. Yeah, if I could type. Times 4. Whoops, that's not right. Okay, so she's averaging 2.5 blocks versus a mystic attack versus a physical attack that gets blanks. Oh, no, sorry, that was with blanks. Fuck it. I'm not that worried about it. Basically, she's stronger against energy and physical if it's close range. Well, she's stronger against physical at close range. If you're going to attack her with physical at close range, you're better off using a mystic attack. If you can do energy at all, it's always better. That's basically the math. That's the last thing I had to say about it. I think we're ready for numbers.
The only thing I was going to add to it was she's interesting in that for 2 points, she can be like a hard counter to like a side of the board, right? Like if you put 2 characters that, like a Black Dwarf or something like that over there, she's just like, hi, I'm Black Widow, and Black Dwarf can just, swing and get mad all he wants. If he can't throw anything at her, if he never gets to, then she might just go get the objective and just leave, and he can never do anything about it.
Yeah,
so,
I was going to say she's actually interesting versus people with Pierce because of the blanks, but I'm trying to think of anyone she's actually good against that has Pierce, because there is Killmonger, unfortunately does energy damage just like she does on his basic attack, so that doesn't actually help you because you only have 2 defense dice, so the blanks isn't that useful. He can also attack from range 3 with his physical attack, and then Sabretooth and Wolverine both hit so hard and bleed on wilds that the Pierce is kind of an afterthought, because you're going to die to the fucking bleed. And, like, what are you going to do to Sabretooth? You're going to counter-strike him for 1 so he can heal for 1? Like you're not doing anything. Like, she's never going to kill those 2 people. I can't think of anybody else that's Pierce that she's actually good against. So, like, her best rule, martial arts, probably, she doesn't actually get to utilize that well because of her frame that it's on. It's like 4 hit points.
Right.
Low defenses. Like, it's actually not that great. It is good, but it's not good in the best ways. Like,
but one of the cool things is most characters, we look at their speed with their offense. This character, I look at the speed with the defense, because she's so quick. She gets the objective point, she's stealth, and she just keeps long moving away from characters that can get to her.
Right.
And she just goes, I'm actually using my stealth very effectively. She does that very well.
She actually uses stealth where Ant-Man has stealth and doesn't use it.
Right. Go ahead,
right.
give her a rating, Brennan.
I think it's got to be a 4 for me. And I'm going to justify the 4 with she'll never be actually a 4. She's going to be a 6 or a 2. You're either going to get a hold of her and she's going to die like nothing, or she's never going to die because you can never get a hold of her. The 4 is more of like a middle ground, because you know where she's going, and then you know where she's not going to be if she gets time to run away. But because she's on a small base, if she's trying to get to a central extract, she can't get to it and run away in the same turn. So you can set up models that have movement effects like Loki with the Mind Stone, or Enchantress, or MODOK, and you can drag her into your army and then get a hold of her and kill her. Or if you just have a strong enough attacker that's good about getting around her defenses, I think you can handle her. If you don't have those things, then you're basically screwed. You're never going to kill her, because she's just going to run away. So that's my thoughts.
I like a 4. That feels pretty good. I like it for the reasons that you said. Sometimes she's really great. Sometimes she's not. The one thing you can't take from her is she's speed long, and that's amazing sometimes.
Yeah. There's the missions where you have to roll to find the extract, and those she hates because she can't just run up, grab it, and take off. And so she's kind of just hovering around in the middle of the board like, where's it gonna be? Like, find the queen, and then it's not there and she dies. And like, crap. Like, I didn't roll a crit, so I'm screwed. And so those games suck for her. But if it's just like a worthy mission with hammers, that's just great for her. She just grabs 1 or 2 and runs away, and you'll never see her again.
Yeah, it's
Parker.
I feel like she wins the game on her defense, kind of, which is weird, because she was a combination of her speed and her stealth. So I think she's a character, like you guys said, she's a 4 with a big asterisk next to it, right? 4 with an asterisk. Could be 7, but not always.
Okay. All right, we need to start going a lot faster. All right, so it's a 4, you said?
Yeah, I'm with you.
All right. Support, she doesn't have any. Control, she has the ability to potentially stagger. I'm fine with giving her a 2. What do you guys think?
2 is fine. Wouldn't you feel horrible if she staggered you? I'd be so mad. That'd be like the worst.
It's not actually that unlikely. Like, unless you're attacking someone really strong against physical, like, it's so hard to get 2 successes on defense. Like, it's very unlikely. You have to have like 5 or 6 defense dice before it comes commonplace.
Mm-hmm.
This clown just staggered me.
Yeah.
All right, 2. She's obviously a skirmisher. All right, so we have a 2-4-1-2 skirmisher. Let's talk about overall ratings. Some of the parts is not always, whatever the saying is. The total, or Is it the total is greater, or it's greater
Don't-
than the equal to the sum of its parts? Something like
You
that.
can't unbake a
Mhm.
bread, something,
Yeah,
a cake.
you can't unbake a cake unless you know a baker that has money. I think is the
Two
same.
in the hand. Two in the
Bush.
hand is worth five
in the
in the
bush.
bush.
Yeah.
Hatchet. Don't hatch
I
it.
think the
Wait.
key is as long as you can kill 3 stones with 1 bird, you're just good to go.
Okay.
All right. So anyway, so we rated a 4-4-1-1 a 2, and we're gonna rate a 2-4-1-2 a 5. Thoughts?
I think she
Like
is.
the numbers don't
Yeah,
translate necessarily.
they do not translate for her. She has one of the best things in the game, which is long move. Plus, she also has
Yeah.
stealth on it as well. And those alone mean a lot of games she won't even be touched in doing what she's going to do.
Yeah.
So, I feel comfortable
All
with
of
a 5.
her kits, all of her kits synergizes with itself, as where Ant-Man's like trying to do 6 things at once, and I don't think very often it'll actually pan out. Like she knows exactly what she wants to do,
Mhm.
and conveniently she's a starter box character, so it's pretty obvious what she's supposed to do.
Yeah, that's the other bit. Like as soon as they're kind of like you said, they obviously were engineering her with a purpose. It's really clear. She executes it very consistently. And if you're like, man, I need a good scenario piece that is going to be able to take extracts for me, and you just reach for her, she's 2 points, and you won't look back. You'll never be like sad that you did that, because you're basically you're saying I'm going to spend 2 points for a character that's going to keep my objectives, and I'm not going to lose them because I'm also trying to fight with that character. So yeah, I think 5. The only reason why she not a 6 for me is that there's so many other 2-point characters, and I don't always know which one I'm going to go with, and I don't always want an extraction only piece. But I think 5 is super fair.
Okay, 5 it is. Moving on, we have Captain America. And remember, let's speed it up a bit. So
the good captain.
0.
The
Move
good
on.
captain.
summary.
Garbage.
Okay, so the good captain is a 4-point character. He is 5 health on the front side. On the back side, he has 6 health. And his kit does change a little bit from the front and the back. But on his front side, he has 4 physical defense, 4 energy defense, and 3 mystic defense. His strike is a 5-die strike that he gets power for, and it has wild push. Short. He has a shield throw, which is range 4, costs 0, gives 4 attack dice. It ignores LOS and cover. It has a wild with ricochet, which basically he gets to immediately make another shield throw at a character within 3 of the original, and then he doesn't get to keep going with that. He also has a 2-cost shield slam within range 2, 6 dice, and if the character is size 2 or less, he can throw them short after he does a shield slam. A day like any other is the Avengers Affiliation. Each turn, which we found out works every turn, not round. Each turn, you may reduce the power cost of the first superpower used by every allied character by 1 to a minimum of 1. Suck it, Ant-Man. Bodyguard is 2 cost. He gets to, if somebody targets another person within 2 range of him, he can take that attack. And Vibranium Shield, key thing for him, 2 cost power. When he's targeted by a physical or a energy attack, he can add 2 dice to this character's defense roll. So he gets to add 2 to his already prestigious 4/4/3. On the backside, he gains an extra health, as I said, and he gains I can do this all day, which is now he adds blanks to his defense roll, which is huge because he keeps Vibranium Shield. So, Brandon, what do you think about his offensive potential? You've played a lot of Cap. What do you think about his offensive potential?
Lacking. His strike, he generally, because of his support bonuses, he's never standing in a position where he gets to attack a lot. So generally speaking, he's going to spend one of his actions moving back into coherency with his squad to try and apply his bonuses. And then he's going to have the ability to usually throw the shield or do 1 strike. Both of them are pretty lame. The strike's okay. The ricochet's fun if you get the wilds, but it's coin flip if you get the wild or not. And it's just kind of meh. It's all physical damage. His shield slam's actually pretty decent. But again, he rarely wants to spend the power on it and rarely is in position to use it.
Jeremy, what do you think about the offensive power of Cap?
Nope. He doesn't have much. Brandon covered it. Like, he just, he's not any good offensively. It's not his deal.
All right. So stats. I give him a 3.
Being generous.
Maybe 3.5 with the potential to throw, but he can only throw size 2 people, and there's a lot less size 2 people on the board than there were, a year ago.
Jeremy, what would you give him?
A 3's fine. He can throw people. He can push. He can do stuff. If he wants to, he can spend and do that. But that's the wrong answer.
Yeah,
I would say I like a 3 because his strike is 5 dice, which is not nothing. Like, it's not nothing horrible. And his shield throw does have the potential, like you say, coin flip. It basically doubles your attack for your action. So also ignore some of the benefits that your opponent might have defensively. So I like him at a 3.
Cool. 3 it is. Moving on to defense.
Defense. Brandon, what do you think about his defense?
Lacking. All right, probably like a 2. Jeremy, what do you think?
I don't even want to talk about it. I'm super mad.
Super realistically, he has a lot of negatives. I mean, I don't even know that he's that defensive anymore compared to other models. He's basically bad.
Oh my god.
I don't know.
All kidding aside, for any of you guys listening for the first time, if you haven't put Cap on the table, his front side, if you're like, he's Captain America, his front side, I'm going to spend power on Bodyguard and Vibranium Shield, he'll go down on his front side. He's certainly not invisible. It's when he pops over to that backside that he just starts feeling like he's just broken. But man, he feels broken on his backside.
Did I tell you what I was playing around with, which was a defenders list that has you inspiring monologue Cap and Vapors of Altorum at the same time, and you just like have fun. Like, I get to reroll everyone's dice. It's so stupid. Yeah. So basically, the answer is get him the hell away from everything you want to actually attack. Mm-hmm. Yeah, he's obviously good. He's weak to Mystic mainly because he can't Vibranium Shield. But he still gets his blanks on the backside versus Mystic. He's just only 3 dice. Which is mad, but I mean, there's not that many Mystic attackers, and, that's still pretty solid, honestly. The big downside is people that can move your guys without targeting you with attacks. But I mean, individually, his personal survivability has to be at least like a 7 or an 8, right? Probably an 8.
Yeah. Also, worth it to say is a day like any other, his power that he always gets as long as he's an Avenger, which he almost always is, helps him with either his Vibranium Shield or his Bodyguard. Basically, you're going to get 1 discounted every time he gets attacked, every turn the first time. So he's constantly doing it. Even though you look at his power, you're like, well, if he's taking 1 damage every time this happens, he's getting the next thing for free functionally. So
I'm just looking at other things we've rated. So we rated Black Panther a 7, MODOK a 7, and Groot got an 8.
Because
we also gave Black Dwarf a 7. Oh shit, we gave a bunch of 7s. Loki and Hela also got 7s on defense. They mostly get 7s though because of like abstract movement or resurrection type abilities. Mm-hmm. Captain America is very good at receiving healing, which isn't technically on his card, but he's so consistent on defense that like playing med pack or patch up on him is so beneficial for your entire squad that he's usually the first one to get healed.
If the rest of those are a 7, then he's an 8. I mean, the ability to roll 6 dice and use your blanks, that means that they've got that many dice. I mean, they're only most models in the game can only roll 2 to 3 hits at best, mostly, and he's rolling a lot more than that for saving. So that
it basically makes him immune to not 6 dice attacks.
Yeah.
So I think I'm gonna go with an 8. Anybody disagree with an 8?
I don't at all. Not even a little bit.
Do we think he's a 9?
Who's a 9 right now?
Nobody. Just Thanos is a 10.
Then he's a 9. He's just no. I'm serious.
You think so?
I think he's just below Thanos, and that's.
So you think he's just barely ahead of, or he's better than Groot noticeably, but he's weaker than Thanos notably.
Correct. Well, correct. I'll give him that. Yes.
Trying to think, because Groot has the negative now that Grievous Wounds is in the game, that he actually has a weakness. I don't know that Cap actually has a weakness. Like, you could throw shit at him, but, like, he's still 4 physical.
Man, so now that I'm getting talked into a 10. Like, he's...
No, he's not a 10. I don't think
Really?
he's a 10. I've played him. Yeah, because he has the ability to blank out on dice, or, like, just roll bad dice. Thanos can't roll bad dice. Like, he physically can't roll so bad that he doesn't defend.
He also always takes off 1, and he has much bigger health.
That's
pool.
what I mean. Yeah.
Yeah. Thanos is a 10. I actually don't like when you said 8. I was like, absolutely. Like I think his floor. So a 9, I'm totally comfortable with. I'm fine with changing my mind.
I think he's right there. I would go as good as Thanos,
Okay.
but you don't, so that's fine. And 9 is good. I feel good at a 9.
All right, 9 it is. Moving on. Support. He's actually really good at support. His faction ability alone would probably put him at a 4. He also has bodyguard, and he likes to use it. It's better than bodyguard because it's really a 1-cost bodyguard, which is fucking amazing. And he's on a frame that wants to bodyguard anyway. So like, I think we have to look at a 6 at least. Because that's the only, like, we're talking about a 4-point melee model that doesn't deal damage, makes lists. Like,
Yes.
That's absurd to me. Like, that's a crazy amount of support.
Yeah, I was going to say, if you're going to give, like, I was looking at some of our other ratings. We gave Red Skull a 6. I feel like he does, like, his thing in Avengers, and he takes advantage of his own ability so hard. And then also, that ability, Day Like Any Other, if we're putting, leadership abilities into the support column, that enables so many things across the game. Like, every time they print a character, you'll think, okay, I wonder what happens if I put him with Cap, because that support ability is so cool. It's so interesting.
It's a top 3 leadership ability, right?
Yeah. So
it's basically X-Men Gold, Master of Evil, and Day Like Unlike Any Other. I guess it's Storm, Red Skull, and Cap are really like the top 3 leaderships, and that's pretty much it. Like, you could argue other people, but that's pretty much the pantheon of the top 3 right now.
I would actually say, in terms of support, his ability to keep other characters, key characters in the game, and to grease the wheels so hard with his leadership ability, I think 6 is the floor for him, and I'm willing to stick to that floor. But I would be willing to go to a 7 for him in support.
So,
all right. So, do we have anyone rated a 7 on support yet? We have Shuri, Gwen, and that's it for 7s. On 8s, we have Thanos and Groot.
Mm-hmm.
I think we might have shot a little high on the Groot, but
so let me throw this out there. So, what we rated Red Skull at for offense. Okay, so offensively, that's what he does. Defensively, Captain America, is he as good at creating that bubble of defense for his army as Red Skull is for the offense? And I think yes, and then a little more defensively than Red Skull does for offensively.
You're saying he supports his list better than Red Skull supports. Are you counting the movement ability, though?
Yeah. I'm looking at that.
His cosmic portal?
Yeah, because if you're dead, you can't be offensive anymore. Like... and your guys are just live. Like, as long as Cap is there, you're just living. So I would put him 1 point above Red Skull for that reason. I think he's a little bit better at being defensive than Red Skull is offensive. But that could be wrong. I mean, they could be very well equal. It's very balanced.
Yeah, I mean, I want to say they're the same because I've played both a lot, and I like Red Skull more at the moment, but it might just be the characters in Cabal make me want to play them more than the characters in Avengers make me want to play them. I basically think it's a 6 or a 7. Is he as good as Shuri on support? That's really the question. Like, is he as good as Shuri, or is he a step below Shuri for support?
Ah, boy. I would say as good as for support. I mean,
okay.
sure, yeah.
I would say a day like unlike any other. His Avengers ability is good enough. Yeah, he's a 7.
Okay, 7 it is. Moving on. Control. He's basically a 1. He does technically have a throw on his shield slam, but it only throws size 2 people, and it's on a range 2 attack, and it costs 2 power.
His strike technically has a push on a wild.
Guess that's true. Do you want to rate him a 2 on control?
I would say 2 probably fair, since he does have 2 different attacks that could make it happen.
All right, 2 it is. Jeremy, your opinion's irrelevant. You're out.
Thank you.
Uh,
Woof.
he is a defender.
He is the defender. Even though he's not-
I believe we listed him as our example character.
Yeah, even though he's not into the defenders, he is the defender.
It's true. You would think he would be a brute, but because he's so focused on helping other people, that he's actually a defender. And he's actually more supporting than you would expect. Anyway, rating. We have a 3972 defender overall rating. I guess I go first, don't I? Would we put Red Skull? I'm curious. Man, these guys are really to be flips of the same coin. 6.
If that's where Red
He's
Skull is.
a good leader.
Yeah.
He is exactly what Red Skull was.
Yeah, I'm good with that. I think they're good.
Yeah,
he's an above average leader, but not crazy good.
Yeah, he's a really good leader. He does, one of the cool things I like about him is like I said before, when you read new cards, I always think, okay, what happens if I decrease their power by 1? Is there something cool here? So that's definitely at least a 6. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh shit, we skipped a character. Oh well, it's fine. We'll fix it. I can't believe we didn't notice that we skipped this.
Oh
character.
yeah, I did not.
Whoops, that's fine. All right, cool. All right, next up we've got Black Widow, Agent of S.H.I.E.L.D. I don't know how we missed this character.
I think I know how we missed it. I don't think I
jumped down an extra line. Yeah. All right. So Parker,
Black Widow,
go ahead and run us
Agent
through
of
her, and
S.H.I.E.L.D.
remember, just run through as quick as you can. We don't need your little opinions about every rule.
Okay. Black Widow, Agent of S.H.I.E.L.D. has 5 health on the front side and the back side. She's identical on the front and the back. She is a 3-cost medium speed character. Automatic pistol is her first attack, range 3, 4 dice. She gets 1 power every time she does it. It has rapid fire, so she gets to attack twice with it. Tear gas is her second ability. Also physical. It's an area 2 with 4 power. It costs 4 attack dice. It costs 2 power. The target character does not gain power for damage dealt by it, though. And they get poison. Just after it's resolved. No damage necessary. Widow's Kiss is an energy attack, range 2. It costs 3. It's 6 dice. And you add 1 to the attack roll for each special condition the target character already has on them. And then on a wild, it pushes short. Any character size. Her first special power is Interrogate. It costs 3. At the start of the cleanup phase, if there's any dazed enemies within range 2 of her, if she pops the 3 power to spend it, she automatically gets 1 extra VP. And then Parting Shot. If you try to shoot her after the attack is resolved, she can spend 2, and the attacking character suffers 1 damage, and then she can immediately advance short. She also has stealth.
Okay. So offense.
Yep.
Let's see. She has the best kind of rapid fire attack of the 2 we've seen, which is always rapid fire. It's not conditional, which is nice. It is very good. I think it's an underestimated attack. We were just talking about this earlier, actually. Widow's Kiss is pretty solid. 6 dice energy attack that only costs 3, and it potentially can roll more dice. It's pretty cool. Pretty solid offense overall. Jeremy?
Yeah, I agree. Rapid fire has been beating me lately a lot, so A+ there on that one. I like that she has an energy weapon as well, which is interesting. So, cool.
Yeah, anyone new to D8 based games, it's more about quantity of rolls over quality of rolls. Like, thinking in your brain that I'm going to do a Hulk smash attack for 14 dice sounds great, but without any ability to manipulate the dice, like 2 6-dice attacks are honestly probably better, even though it's less total dice. Like, the math doesn't say that, but because of the way the dice are very inconsistent and they spike a lot, you just want more opportunities to get lucky over your opponent, because when you get unlucky on an attack, nothing happens. Like, there's no downside. It's only the positive of when you get lucky, right? Like, that's really the only case. So, like, if you were to roll a d6, and the average would be 3.5, but if you roll a d6 discounting all numbers below 4, Well, the average would be like 4.5 because if you're only counting one side of the coin on the spike, like that, you end up getting noticeably higher. I don't know if that makes sense, but that's been the experience that we've had when we've tried to break down the math. Anyway, moving on. Do we have anything to add for numbers on offense?
I was going to say, to speak of that exact thing, in Star Wars X-Wing, there was a card called Twin Laser Turret, and it functioned on that same premise, right? It was a broken card, and it became really bad for the game because it just allowed you to roll more often, and that was the key to D8 games. So just roll more often. Another cool thing...
You'll eventually get that, like, 3 crits, 3 hits roll, and you're like, oh, you're dead, fine.
Right. So the automatic pistol... Another cool thing about automatic pistol is she always gains 1 power for it, always, which is cool that she can double tap something and she's going to consistently get that 2 power every turn. She's not reliant upon their great defensive rolls or their being in a wonderful defensive position. And you're like, well, I can't possibly get power for this, so my character's just starved. She'll always have 2. And if you're willing to play her somewhere else, like in Cabal, she'll always have, she could have 4, she could. So, it's cool. It is a cool, it is, automatic pistol is not to be underestimated. What would you rate her, Jeremy? No, sorry, not Jeremy. Brandon, where would you rate her, Brandon? You go first.
I thought you were skipping me on purpose.
I wasn't skipping you on purpose.
She has a really good spending attack. Her primary attack is honestly really solid. I was going to say a 4, but the more I look at her kit, I'd say a 5. Which sounds like not a lot, but for a 3-point character, breaking into the 5s is pretty uncommon.
Where did we put Valkyrie?
Valkyrie was an 8.
An 8? Okay.
Yeah. She has flurry.
Yeah. No, Valkyrie's super strong.
And
I was just making sure that Valkyrie's not like a 6 or something.
Valkyrie was the gold standard on offense for a long time.
Yeah, no, she's fine at a 5. I'm all right with that.
Yeah, I was going to argue with the 5. One of the other cool things about her is if she has all the power, if she has some, she can tear gas and then Widow's Kiss immediately, which is super cool. Automatically 7 dice attack, and you don't gain all the power for all those dice. It's pretty cool.
I was actually going to say if she had the ability to do more than one effect, I was actually going to probably rate her a 6, but she doesn't. She alone can't get above 7 dice, and it costs her 5 power to get 7, and because the first one's not likely to do much damage. So, moving on, we have defense. Stealth is pretty much her only defensive rule. I guess technically Parting Shot is defensive because you get to move away from them after it.
Right.
Which is important because she has stealth. So it's hard to attack her twice. That's actually pretty nice.
And I do not know if I mentioned this actually when I was doing her stats, but she is a 4-3-3. Like, she actually has a pretty solid stat line defensively. Cool thing about her kit is with Widow's Kiss, defensively, if she pops Widow's Kiss and then she pushes you small, and then you try to stand and shoot her, she might just, like, leave. She might just be like, whoop, 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 and just leave while doing damage to you.
She seems just slightly above average for defense. I mean, she doesn't have a health pool that will allow for any shenanigans, but she can be there a little bit longer than you expect, I'm guessing.
I'm going to give her a 5. She's got an above average stat line. She also has 2 defensive rules, and they actually work very well with her kit. She's a model that actually likes stealth because it's hard for more than one model to get within her range band of 3. And a lot of people don't have optimal attacks at range 3, so they tend to want to move at range 2. And so then you can, Parting Shot, move away. I actually like it. I'm going to go with 5.
I would say 5 at least because of really cool interaction. If she is immune to characters that have 1 health left, because
no, she's not.
I mean, if they do it,
she
true,
gets to kill them back.
Right, that's what I'm saying. Like, but then if your opponent is totally fine with losing their character with 1 health left for dazing KO Black Widow, but she might have immunity if it's a key character. They have a lot of objective tokens or something cool. Might be important.
Well, it's not immunity. It's deterrent. We'll say deterrent.
It's pure, perfect immunity.
It's not immunity. They could daze you first.
Jeremy, he's talking in tongues.
So you're saying Thanos, having 1 hit point left, wouldn't attack you? I think he would.
No, I think Thanos would. Jeremy, what would you rate her?
Now, I really like that parting shot and stealth work together. That's really cool.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I feel she's a
We
4
need a
though,
number.
even with that. I said 4. 4.
Taking forever.
You were fucking taking forever.
We gave Ant-Man a 4. She's got to be higher than that.
I say 5.
She can't be tiny. She's not tiny.
We gave Red Skull a 5. Who else? We gave Ronan a 5. I guess that is a little high.
Ronan
All right,
dies.
I guess I'm talking myself into a 4.
How's
Yeah, so
Ronan?
shut up.
I think Ronan. Really? Okay.
Dude,
Because
Ronan
he's only 3 physical defense.
Ronan gets clowned, man. If someone gets on him,
He does. People think he's invulnerable because people don't attack him. But they don't attack him because they want to get nuked. Like
Yeah.
he has he has a deterrent power, not
Yeah.
a defensive power.
That's true.
All right, 4 it is. Moving on. Support. Lack thereof. So 1. Control. Poison isn't really control.
Interrogate.
Pushing.
Interrogate is control, right?
Interrogate would be support. I guess if we want to give her a 2 on support.
I was gonna say if we give Interrogate a support, then also her card with Hawkeye is another one of those. I'm going to gain extra.
Professionals.
Yeah, and that actually, in my opinion, if you're playing professionals, if you want to play professionals, you're actually doing it with this Black Widow because she actually
Yes.
can be in the middle and be in the mix and do things. So, like this Black Widow is the one who plays professionals, and that's another way to get extra VPs potentially. So she can, if she gets a optimum activation, and your opponent isn't aware of what could happen with her and Hawkeye, Hawkeye can enable extra dice from Widow's Kiss. She can go up there and pop somebody really hard, maybe take an objective token and interrogate. Like that's like rolling, Yahtzee, and you get everything you want. But
Well, it feels like you're doubling down super hard because if you're dazing them, you don't need professionals.
true.
And if you're using professionals, you're not using interrogate, so it can't do both. But
True.
I see your point. They're very synergized around her attacking people with objectives. I get that.
So is that support or control?
That's support.
Okay.
Control is locking down your opponents, preventing them from doing things. Support is enriching your synergy.
Okay.
So yeah, it would be support. So do we want to put her up to a 2?
I think she's a 2.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'll go with a 2. Jeremy, do you disagree?
2 is fine.
Okay. Control, I don't think a random wild push and a random poisoning are worthy of a 2 on control. Does anybody else?
It is not random, by the way, though. It's an area 2, and it just happens to you. But I don't know if it's worth 2.
Well, poison is the worst defense or the worst control effect. Is literally the worst by a mile.
You think losing a power every turn is the worst?
It's 1 power. That's all it can cost you is 1 power.
Would it cost you? Oh, I see your point.
Per turn.
Because if
Yeah.
you remove it, then it also costs 1 power.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, not 1 power. It costs 1 action to remove it, which means you'll never
that's
remove
right.
it.
Yeah. You'll
But
just spend a power.
it's just like it's such like in the long run, does removing 1 power from one of your characters really matter? Like it's so minor.
Yeah.
If they were also stunned, then we're talking about something. But like it's nothing.
Mhm.
Like, if you root them and poison them, that's annoying. Like, but it's just the 1. Speaking of, rooted needs to be on more effects. Rooted is a powerful effect that people don't realize. Anyway, moving on. She's obviously a skirmisher, right? We all agree on that.
Mm-hmm.
So we have a 5-4-2-1 skirmisher for 3 points. I guess I'm first up for numbers, so I give her a 3. Talk me up from a 3. I dare you.
God, I wish she moved long. I don't care about her, so she's a medium move. I'll give her a 3. I don't care. If she was a long move, she'd probably get a 5.
She actually wants to be at range 3 from people, though, so it's not nearly as bad as like a normal character moving medium. She is a ranged character for the most part.
Mm-hmm. I would actually say she's one of those. I think she's not a 3, and the reason why I would go up from a 3 is, if we were rating based on popularity, she would be a 3 because I think she gets outshined by so many 3-cost things in the game. But when you look at her kit, when you look, like we've said that the theme of all of our conversations has been, man, she does all the things that she's supposed to do. Like, she has no counterintuitive abilities. She doesn't have any super glaring weaknesses. She's a really strong 3-point character. And on top of that, she does have some cool things that she does with Interrogate. speeding up your game because you're dazing your opponent is so cool. Normally you have to be Thanos to do that on his healthy side. So if you have 3 power on her, you start to win the game. You spend 3 power and you're winning. You're not just dazing, you're also winning. So I think more people should play her. I am excited to play her sometime. I will not probably play her in Avengers, actually. I might find a way for her to put her somewhere else because I think she actually belongs in some other factions first. But I think she's definitely a 4 at least, and I think she's a sleeper. I think she's actually pretty darn strong. I don't think she's Doctor Strange. I think she's a 4 or a 5, but I don't think she's a 3.
Okay. So you said a 4 or a 5. I definitely don't think she's a 5, but I am glad we talked about her support effects. I think they're not nothing. I'll go up to a 4. I think she's better than your average 3 on our list. Mm-hmm. But she doesn't get played a lot. I think that's because she's really like half defender, half skirmisher. Like she's trying to get you random control points, and then she's also trying to be like a random like skirmish fighter. And it's just like she does 2 things at once. All right, so we're going to put her at a 4. Moving on, we have Captain Marvel. And as I said before, let's try and speed through these.
Okay.
Good.
Captain Marvel is a 4-cost character. She has 3 physical defense, 4 energy defense, 3 mystical defense. She has 6 health on the front side and the back side. She is identical on both sides in all ways. She has a strike that is range 2 physical, 5 dice, and gives her power for everything she does. She has Energy Blast, which is range 4, strength 4, energy, cost 0, and gives her always 1 power. And she can reroll any number of attack dice always with Energy Blast. Her Rocket Punch, she has to pay 3 for it, and it gives her 7 attack dice, and it's at range 3. It has crit stat. It's not crit. It has a wild stagger. Her powers are binary form for 5 power. She gets to add 2 dice to all of her attack and defense rolls for her until her next activation. So not round until she activates the next time. Danvers Special is a 3-cost interactive terrain or enemy character throw. If they are size 3 or less, she can throw them medium. Energy Absorption is her passive. If she's ever defending against an energy attack, for every wild in her defense roll, she can change one of her attacker's damaging dice, that's crit, wild, or hits, to blanks. And then she gets also 1 power for each die changed in this way. She has flight and immunity to poison.
There's also just randomly a lot of people immune to poison.
Yes, there are.
I don't know if you've noticed that.
A lot of robots. Yeah, a lot of robots.
Well, those are the people immune to poison. It's the Hulks and her. It's like all the cosmic and like radiated people are immune to poison.
Mm-hmm. So
for that reason, I wish Gamma Wave did poison damage. All right, anyway.
Brandon, go ahead. Give her some offensive workup. What do you think?
So she seems very meh on offense initially until you realize that you have to find a way to get her into binary form, which is why you don't see her a lot. If you can actually get her in a list that lets her get into binary form, usually this is either through Avengers or through Cabal by letting her generate more power on her attacks. That actually is pretty good. I've played her in Cabal with Wong as well, and she automatically gets into binary form instantly, which is great. And then she just keeps the train rolling, because then she's generating 5 a turn with just her attacks and her power up. Her Energy Blast seems not great, but you have to remember the math on rerolling. It basically makes it like a 6 dice energy attack, so it's actually very good. Energy is the best damage type. She has a good spending attack that potentially staggers, and she has a good throw. So I actually think her offensive output is actually pretty good.
Jeremy, you want to weigh in?
Jeremy.
You covered it. That's everything. I mean, re-rolling dice on your attacks.
All right, so let's go to numbers then.
4 dice or 6 dice.
What do we think on numbers?
Way better than just dropping
the
dice and looking at them going, shit.
You are?
All right.
She's good.
This is kind of like the Black Widow conundrum, because there's the games where she's amazing and the games where she's terrible. And I feel like if she's terrible, it's because you took her in the wrong list. Her offense rarely struggles, though. It's usually her defense is what struggles. Let's say... I mean, I want to say 6, but I know there's a lot of games where she doesn't feel like a 6. I'm going with 6, though. Talk me down from a 6.
I was looking at some of the other characters in the game. I think 6 is actually her floor, and this is the reason why. If, like you said, you enable her, she's one of those characters that must be enabled. And so if you do have enablers in her list that are going to give her power, like Wong, for example, that's going to be feeding her consistently. Once she gets going, she is just a freight train. The ability to roll 6 dice twice, with range 4, using people's weak defense, energy defense, and she's re-rolling all of those dice. That's so much dice value. I don't know of another character in the game that gets that much dice value. You have to enable her somehow to get that to work. But if you do, man, that's an insane amount of dice value at range 4. She's by far the strongest turret in the game, in my opinion. I think 6 is her floor for that reason, and I think she's always got to be in the conversation about, I just want a range character that kills everything within range 4, and she could do that.
If we're assuming that she's in binary, she's in probably the argument for the best blasters. I don't know that she is the best blaster, but I think MODOK and Magneto are going to sit on that mountain for a long time.
She also costs less than them, which is pretty cool. The fact
she does cost less than them, but you do have to put a lot of resources into binary form, though, and they are just good. Just out of the gate. So I think that's pretty much the trade-off you take. Like, you could just take Wong as a 6-point Carol, and you'd probably be okay. But yeah. So, I don't know that I would agree to a 7. Let me look at the other 7s real quick. 7's on offense. Thor. She's probably better than Thor. Thanos got a 7. I don't know if she's better than Thanos on offense. He's kind of random. You know what? The more I look at this list, yeah, she's probably a 7.
What do you think, Jeremy?
I think in Cabal, she is a 7. Mm-hmm. 7. I think she has trouble.
What about in Avengers?
In Avengers?
Avengers, it only costs 4.
Still,
she's generating 3 a turn.
But then she's got to find the rest of it. I mean, I think you're going to be a little
turn
starved.
1, turn 1, you move into position. Turn 2, you binary form.
Okay.
Unfortunately, you're binary forming at the end of your activation.
Correct.
Or you're saving it for the turn after.
Mm-hmm.
But also, if she takes any damage, it just becomes easier to do it in the future. If you take someone like Wong or anyone else that can donate power, that obviously makes it easier.
I guess she can go in Inhumans soon.
In a bubble,
Inhumans she can go in soon.
We'll look at it in a bubble. What can she do? Let's put power aside and all that. 6 or 7's fine. I mean, she can create a lot of damage and a lot of really good quality dice. So that's not everybody in the game. There's only a small handful that can do it, and she's one of them. Mm-hmm. So she's a premium.
She has a good throw, and I think I'm fine with a 7. Her damage output potential is definitely not her problem. So I'm going to go with the 7. Defense. Good things about her defense. She's good against energy. I heard. Someone told me that. Jeremy, tell me about her defense.
Binary form, energy, all that. Yeah, it's solid. I mean, she's got good stats. The only thing she doesn't come with is rerolls.
Yeah, the problem we run into is she's so obviously amazing at energy, there's almost nobody that only does energy damage. And so you just don't attack her with your energy attack. And then she's actually kind of squishy. That's actually the problem I run into with her. She can be killed. And like we talked about, binary form is hard for her sometimes. And so if you can basically plan around getting to her with the right character, basically get a Zemo type character, someone who can cross that gap and hit her before she can get into binary form, she's actually kind of fragile against those people.
But I think that says something about her kit, though, that it takes a certain kind of character to unlock that key. Otherwise, you're going to struggle against her. And if she's just going to stand there and blast you, and she never has to get close to do her thing, if you're going to try to stand and blast against her, especially if you're trying to blast with energy, because a lot of ranged attacks are energy, then you're going to lose that fight so hard. So I think if you're, like you said, if you try to cross through no man's land and get to her, then you can take her down. I think that's 100% true. But the fact that it requires that kind of tactic to get the better of her defense, I think it's above average. I think it's actually above average.
No, she's definitely above average on defense because the average person in this game is 10 health with 3s.
Yeah.
So 12 hit points plus amazing energy defense and potential to be better than average against everything. I mean, she's at least a 5 on defense, right?
At least.
Yeah. I mean, because it just in plain binary form against everything else, she's probably a 5.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, probably a 6 on defense then.
I like a 6 because she's also like changing their attack dice to blanks when she rolls wilds and stuff. That's super cool.
Well, it's on energy attacks. And like
Right.
we said, I think you'd be an idiot to attack her with an energy gun.
Mm-hmm.
I don't like it that high, but that's fine. You guys have got it. Like, I would like to.
Talk me down, Jeremy.
She's missing any sort of like, you did something, then I move away. You can't do anything anymore, or re-roll some dice, or some sort of. All she does is drop the dice and look at them, and you go, "Oh crap!"
Mm-hmm.
Like, and you know how bad defense dice can be. Like, she can just take a
Yeah.
couple hits. She doesn't have any other extra things. Where so many good ones that are good at defense will deal with things by doing a little extra, a reroll here and there, those kind of things. I mean, she just drops dice. That's okay. I just don't think she's super high.
Actually, I think I agree with you now. She also doesn't add dice to her dodge rolls. I'm reading now. Yeah, I think 5 is probably more accurate.
Mm-hmm.
Probably getting a little excited here.
Getting emotional.
Alrighty, support. Yeah. Well, like, it's hard to look at someone who has 6 dice plus a defensive
I know.
roll as, like, not amazing. But yeah, that's a good point. She's not always in binary form as well.
Yeah.
Okay, so support, she doesn't do any supporting.
Nope.
She can potentially stagger. What does the potential stagger on an attack she rarely uses count?
I think also
she can also potentially throw people.
she can throw enemies. Yeah, size 3 or less. I think she has probably a 2, right?
I'd say probably 2, just because she's never going to use these abilities because they both cost 3, and so
Yeah.
she's only going to use them in like dire situations.
Mm-hmm.
So 2's there, and then roll. She's obviously a blaster.
Yeah.
No question. All right, so we have a 7-5-1-2 blaster for 4 points that requires support. Well, I go first, so I'm going to open with a 4. Feel free to talk me up.
She has the premium.
I'm actually going to go ahead.
Go ahead. Well,
Go,
I was going to say she
Shut
has,
Parker, it's Jeremy's turn.
Jeremy's turn. Go.
she has a premium attack. It's energy. She can do her job as a blaster really well, right? So that's her job.
Mhm.
Hang back, survive long enough to gain some power, and then do some damage. Her just premium attack with all the rerolls, and you can actually throw a whole bunch of dice. She's really good at it. So if you put her in a list, it's for that reason, and she does the job really, really good. Looking for a number here? Is that what we're talking about?
Yeah, that's what we're doing.
5.
Figures. Parker,
Figures.
I would agree with a 5 as well because I think if you, for similar reason, you pick her because of what she does. It's so consistent. What she does is going to be consistent as long as you set it up. If you just throw in her list going, I want a good 4-point character, nope, you messed up. But if you want exactly a blaster and you're willing to enable her, she is going to do a lot of work, I think, very consistently. 5.
Okay, 5 it is. Next character. This one better go real fast. We have Iron Man.
I wonder if this one will go fast. Let me look.
He's a
What
4.
is his
Let's
abilities?
move on.
I mean, if it takes you more than 30 seconds to read his card, I'm going to strangle you through this monitor.
Brandon, I don't. Brandon, I love you, man, but I don't have to do this.
Read the card.
You know what? I don't know if I feel like it actually. Okay, so Iron Man is a 3-cost, 5 health character, identical on both sides, with the exception of he gains an attack on his backside. He has 4 physical defense, 3 energy, and 3 mystic. His repulsor blast energy attack is his basic. He will gain energy for it at range 4 with 4 attack dice and has a wild push. He has a physical homing rocket attack. He spends 2 power to get a range 5, 5 dice attack, ignores LOS, and the defended character cannot benefit from cover. He has a wild explosive, so everybody within 2 suffers 1 damage. He has Power Friday AI. He spends 3 power, and his next attack adds 2 attack dice to his roll. And then his passive is Invincible Iron Man. It's vulnerable, basically. He suffers 1 less damage to a minimum of 1. He is Flyer. On his backside, the only thing that changes is that he gains an energy attack called the Unibeam for 4 a 6 attack dice. It is a beam 5. Also ignores LOS, and the defending character has not been from cover again.
Cool.
Offensively, what does he like?
Not great. He does generate a decent amount of power over time, but it takes him a while to build up a large well of power. Luckily, that's about the time he gets dazed, and so then he unleashes hell. I don't know. He's not overly impressive. You're obviously not taking him for his damage output. He's kind of a guy you leave on a flank and just let him slowly lose over time. Jeremy, what do you think about his offense?
With that said, Friday AI plus Unibeam is freaking insane.
It's pretty cool.
But yeah, he's pretty standard for what you get with that 3-point model and his little build there. He's got some pushes, he's got some cute stuff, but he's not blowing up the world except with the Unibeam, and I'm guessing he will do that right about before he dies. That's about the time that happens.
Last gasp.
Yep.
And like we said earlier, a bunch of dice without modifications is not that impressive. Like, rolling 8 dice sounds amazing, and you're like, oh, I'm going to one-shot you because I'm rolling 8 dice. And you're like, well, you do the math, that's about 4.5 hits. They're going to get 1 or 2 defenses. You're like, good job, you did 3 damage. And you're like, I only do 3 damage. I rolled an 8 dice attack. You're like, well, that's the math. Like, 3 extra dice isn't 3 more damage. It's 1.5 more damage. Like, you got think about it.
Mm-hmm.
Like, if people just see the big numbers that they're not used to seeing, they just assume it's going to do a ton. And so it really doesn't.
Yeah, I feel like him and Captain Marvel are kind of like second verse, same as the first, but the second verse loses that incredibly big important piece of just re-roll all dice, right?
Yeah.
It's a lot of dice.
They're just opposites. I mean,
Yeah.
one is kind of a scenario tank, and the other one is a blaster. So
Right.
I will say the best things about Iron Man are, even on his offense, is the wild on the push on his normal strike. That's really good. And explosive is surprisingly good on homing rockets if you use it at the right time. Friday AI is nice. It's just an outlet for your power while you're waiting for something to happen. And the Unibeam is surprisingly good, not because of its high amount of dice, because it's potentially high amount of targets. Don't be afraid to move into a position to beam like 3 people. It's totally worth it to move to then hit like 3 people with a beam. Because like we said earlier, it's about quantity of attack rolls, not quality of attack rolls. And getting 3 quality rolls is better than pretty much anything else you could do with your turn. So it's really just about lining up the Unibeam before he dies.
It is worth saying, as an offensive character, he's one of the only like AoE themed characters in the game, but he really is like that's where his thing is he does some area of effects stuff pretty consistently, and unlike a lot of characters in the game, don't do that. They just don't have it. It's a kind of a rare thing.
Yeah, I mean, he doesn't. Does he really though? I mean, it seems like he should, but explosive is only on the wild, and it's only 5 dice. Unless you're spending like 4 or 5 power to do the homing rockets plus Friday. And then 7 dice is a lot more likely to get the wild, but still not guaranteed. But yeah, it is nice. It's a lot more nice when it's on your normal attack, obviously.
Mm.
I think for this model, you're basically paying for the 4 physical defense plus damage reduction is most of the cost of this model.
So what would you rate him offensively, Brandon?
Offensively, I'd give him a 4, and the only reason he's getting a 4 is because of the Unibeam. I'd give him a 3 if it wasn't for the Unibeam. His nothing about his, even though he has Friday AI, nothing about his kit it actually says I'm trying to do damage to you. The Friday AI is just a better chance to push on his normal attack. That's all it is.
I'll give him the same number, except because all of his stuff is ranged, and he does have Friday AI to make it actually hurt if he wants to. So for different reasons, but I'll still land in the same zone.
Parker?
Yeah, I've been always underwhelmed by this character, and I hate it because I love Iron Man, so maximum is 4, yeah.
Alrighty, 4 it is. Moving on to defense. Things I like about Iron Man's defense. I think I just said it. He has 4 physical defense, and he's got damage reduction. I love characters with damage reduction. Because damage reduction is the perfect dice fixing rule. It's only good when your opponent spikes on damage. That's exactly what we need in the game is things that normalize quantity of damage. Because if he does 2, you take 1, and if he does 3, you take 1 on your average roll, which is great. Jeremy, is there anything you'd like to say about defense?
Nope, I think you answered that. I like damage reduction with a 5 health character because it makes them like they basically have 7. I mean, most 3-pointers are going to take 2 hits, maybe 2.5 hits before they die, but damage reduction changes that a little teeny bit, so it's kind of cool. It gives them a little bigger health pool for 3 points. That's good.
Yeah, it's a good point on the health pool. Yeah, I mean, this character isn't too complicated, so. Total ratings, I think he has to get at least a 5, right? 10 hit points, he's got 1 better physical defense, which is the most common damage type, and despite him being a ranged character, he will be standing in melee a lot, because he tends to fly out to a flank and stand on a secure point. That's kind of his role that he finds in a lot of lists, and so he's just hanging out there by himself, with some dickhead punching him in the face, and he's like, go away, and he like tries to slowly push him away, and then the guy moves back. Like, the whole like design of this character to me is he's meant to be able to stay alive in that situation. You activate him after the person that has punched you, and you push them off the point with the repulsor blast, and you take the secure point. That's his entire concept, and he does it very well. So I think that's good. He's only 3 points. Jeremy, do you agree with my 5?
Yes. I would go 4 or 5, sure. Somewhere in there. He's got lots of cool stuff that go on, so a 5 is fine. He's missing... The problem with him is he's missing, like... He's so goddamn static. Like, I'm going to move medium.
He's boring.
I'm going to shoot, and if you push me off the point... I'm
going to move medium twice.
If you
and
push
then I will
me
do
off...
repulsor blast until you give me enough power to do homing rockets.
Yeah, if you push me off that point or do something to me, I will get you next round. Like, that's all he can do.
Yeah. He's very non-interactive. He's just very static. Yeah. He stands there, he does his thing.
Which is fine.
I think he has to be at least a 5. The
damage reduction gives him a 5.
Damage reduction, right, that's my point, though. Like, damage reduction gives him a 5. You can't throw stuff at him because, first off, he has damage reduction, and so even if you were to actually throw a truck at him, he's probably going to dodge 1.5 and reduce by 1. He's only take like 1.5 damage from a truck. Like, it's like, okay, whatever.
He's the definition of like a sentry turret, right? Like he's just supposed to be a big pile of rocks that you have to slowly wear down. You're never gonna just wipe him out. You have to chip away at it.
Yeah. Parker, what's your score?
I would rate him as, looking at the other ones, I think a 5 is actually fair. Looking at these other ones.
Okay, 5 it is. We gotta get through these. Next up, support. He doesn't support. Moving on.
Nope.
Control. He does have a push on his basic attack, which is his primary attack. He's probably got to be at least a 2. Like you would not take him if he didn't have the push on his repulsor blast. Mm-hmm. This model, more than any other model, is supposed to push people around. Like, that's what he does.
Can you imagine how good he'd be if it just had just push? That would be so
just
good.
Just push. Yeah, he'd go from decent to great. Yeah,
yes.
He would be like the new Shuri. Yeah. He'd be like Shuri with less range, less damage output, less support, and same cost. Like, that's how good he'd be.
And he'd be so good.
Keep in mind, these models came out 2 weeks apart.
Oh, God. Don't say that. That's terrible.
Yeah. All right. So I think he's a 2. Do you guys think he's higher than a 2?
No.
A single wild push can't put him above a 2, I don't think.
Correct.
All right. So I think a lot of people look at this guy and see Blaster. I see Brute. So what do you guys think? Like, his job is kind of just stand there and take it while he slowly helps you do stuff. Like a little mini tank.
I guess.
I actually see
his primary function is survivability.
Yeah, I think he's a ranged crossbones, like, is kind of what he is. Like, that's he's just taking damage slowly over time and not dying
I'll buy that.
As your opponent wants it to.
All right. Brute it is. All right, so we have a 4-5-1-2 Brute for 3 points. I'm going to open up the bidding at 3.
Tony Stark can't be a 3. I have to give him a 4.
Tony Stark can be a 3. I just said it.
Oh my God. I disagree.
All right, so you said 4?
Yeah.
Parker, what's your score?
100% a 3.
God!
So Jeremy, my logic here is that Shuri is just objectively better than him.
You're right.
And I don't think you can have a model at your point cost that does your job be better than you and you're rated high. Like, before Shuri came out, or we started playing with Shuri, I thought Iron Man was decent. But, like, how does he make a list unless the only reason he's making the list is because he's on the Avengers affiliation card? Like, that's not a bonus. He's just meh. Is more survivable than Shuri, to be fair, but he doesn't have nearly the other stuff that she has.
And now if you want a ranged character in Avengers, you pull Hawkeye because he's so much more dynamic. He does so many more things.
Yeah, but he's not really the brute class. I guess I'm thinking of it now from the perspective of, does anyone else do exactly what he does? Is there a ranged character that has a little bit of control and is hard to kill?
For 3 points.
For 3 points. Like, is he completely invalidated? Or is there just better options? Because Crossbones is completely invalidated. Drax is just better Crossbones, and there's no argument. Sabretooth is better, more expensive Crossbones, but at least he's more expensive. But Drax is just objectively better than Crossbones.
Ugh. I don't know. I want to say...
I don't know. I just don't see him as a 4. Like, he's not that valuable.
No. I put him at a 3, but it hurts. It really hurts, Brandon. This one, it's Tony Stark.
We gave Hela a 3. Do you see... I think Hela makes more lists than Iron Man does nowadays.
Well, Hela's better than Iron Man.
Is she? So he's a 2?
Yeah. I mean...
you're not helping your argument. He's about Crossbones. He makes into lists when you want to play him, or when you need a 3-point affiliated character that you own.
Let's be fair. Let's be completely fair. We both play random shit all the time and mix things all in. When's the last time you played Iron Man, motherfucker?
I've played Crossbones more recently than Iron Man, which should say a lot.
It's been a year and a half.
My Iron Man looks awesome.
Hey, it can look awesome all day on the shelf.
It can look awesome all day in that display case.
Yeah, I haven't played them in forever either. And
all right, so are we going with a 3 then? Are you going down to a 3, Jeremy? We're putting him in a 3.
Just put it. Just do it.
It's on the paper. I wrote it on the paper. All right, done. Moving on. We have Vision, which is, oh my god. I can't remember when I realized this by reading his card, but he has a name that isn't Vision, and it fucking made me laugh so hard because it's such a stupid name.
Yeah.
His name is Victor Shade.
Victor Shade.
So stupid. Oh my god.
So, Victor.
I just imagine him, because the only reason he needs a name is like when he's in his cover identity as the human version of Vision, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm just imagining him like going through an airport security terminal, and the guy looks at the ID and it says Victor Shade. It's got a picture of his guy, and he looks up. He's like, "That's not a real name." Like, he just immediately calls him out on it. He's like, and then he just like turns into Vision and floats through the floor, and you're like, "I knew it!" Like, fucking Ghost Man. All right, go ahead, Parker.
So Vision is a 4-cost character. He's got 6 health on his front side and his back side. He's got a weird stat line. Base is 2 physical, 2 energy, and 4 mystical, but in one of his superpowers is going to fix that. He's got a energy basic attack. It's a beam 4, strength 5 attack dice. After this attack is resolved, he gains 1 power. It also has sap power on it on a wild, so he takes a power away. For every wild he rolls, he gets a power from his opponent. He has a physical 4 dice attack. Sorry, physical 4 power attack. It rolls 7 dice. It is range 3, Synthesoid Avenger, and your defending character does not get to add crit results to its defense, and cannot roll additional dice if they roll crits. So crits are literally basically dead. They're dead. They can be re-rolled.
They're worse than blanks because you don't. If you had something that counted blanks as hits, they still don't count.
Right. He has a power called Calculated Trajectory. Costs 2. It's a throw for terrain or enemies with size 3 or less. He throws a medium. He has for 0 cost power that costs an action for him to automatically gain 2 power. So he can spend an action to gain 2. And Rapid Phase costs 2, and it allows him to, when he is targeted by an attack, to pick his phasing type. And the phasing types are the kind of keystone of the character. They're 2 different passives. If he chooses during the power phase to have enhanced density, he will automatically roll 3 additional dice when defending against physical, and he cannot be pushed until the start of the next power phase. And then phased, which is the other possible phasing type. This character rolls 3 additional dice when defending against energy attacks and does not suffer collisions until the next power phase. And so rapid phasing for 2 power allows him to pick which one he wants whenever he has been targeted by an attack. He has flight and he's immune to poison again and also bleed because he doesn't have blood.
Mm-hmm.
So with only 2 attacks, how is this guy an offensive powerhouse, Brandon?
He actually is an offensive powerhouse. This guy has dramatically underrated attacks. Beam 4s are real good if you haven't ever tried to attack someone with a beam 4 before. It's really good. Also, sap power on an attack that hits multiple people is crazy strong. And the fact that he automatically gains the power for using it, it's the best damage type. It's 5 dice. The fact that attack isn't a 4 dice attack should impress people. That's a very good attack. Because we talked about earlier, it's not about quality, it's about quantity. Getting potentially to hit 3 people with a beam attack, which isn't that hard to do sometimes, but you're almost always hitting 2 people if you're paying attention. And so that's amazing. Because it's the amount of damage you're going to do over multiple attacks is much higher. Also, potentially stealing power from all those people.
He has speed, he's movement medium and flight, so he can oftentimes get to that funny corner that they're not looking at, the angle they don't see. So
it's true.
He actually gets to do his beam more often because he has flight. Yeah.
He's also an Avenger, so don't underestimate the ability to play Avengers Assemble to line up the perfect beam attack and then do it twice.
Yeah.
Synthesoid Avenger is absurdly powerful. The fact that people aren't raving about this attack blows me away. A 7 dice attack already is very premium, right? We all agree that 7 dice is the gold standard of good attacks.
Mm-hmm.
Now, on top of that, your opponent's dice are so much worse than average dice. So, here, let me do the math real quick. I just need to see the numbers. So, 8-sided dice, right? Every individual side of the dice is a 0.125% chance to get the result you want per die. So if you had, for example, you're succeeding on 3 out of 8, that would mean that your average success rate is 0.375. Now, this is kind of wonky because if you get a critical on one of those dice, now you're rolling an additional die with the same odds of success. And so there's a formula you can do to basically tell you what the total is. But now instead, we're doing 0.125 times 2, times 2, because there's 1 block and 1 wild. So you have a 25% chance per defense die to successfully block, and you don't have the extra dice from criticals. That is, you're cutting their defense chance down by over a third. And on an attack roll, that basically makes their defense dice fucking worthless. It's so terrible. And you have a high quantity of attack dice. It's incredibly good. Anyway, Captain America, if he uses Vibranium Shield in this attack, is succeeding on 1.5 blocks on a defense roll. It's so terrible to try and defend against this attack. It's amazing. This is an absolutely amazing attack. This is one of the best attacks in the game.
It's also one of those attacks that if it spikes, they're just dead. Yeah. They're just dazed.
They're just dead.
If this spike, we're talking about a lot about spikes and how being the ability to reroll is so important, and it is. But Synthesoid Avenger, if it spikes, it doesn't matter what your opponent's about to do because your opponent needs crits to dig out of it, and they can't. They're gone.
Yeah.
So it's when you see 5 damage dice show up on Synthesoid Avenger, and one of them is a crit, it rolls into another hit. You're like, well, it's dead. That's it. It's gone.
Yeah. All right.
Oh, another thing worth saying about his offense, synthesis means that he'll almost always have the power for Synthesoid Avenger. It happens a bunch. Also,
his solar energy beam, too, is crazy. People don't understand how much power that's going to generate you. Jeremy, remember the game where I played Enchantress? And she was just double spraying over 3 people? And you're like, how did you generate 9 powers? I sprayed twice. And you're like, that doesn't mean what you just said. No, it's yeah, that's what that means. It's 5 dice, get a wild, 5 dice, get a wild, 5 dice, get a wild, gain a power. And it's and then I'm Cabal, you just gained 5 power for 1 attack action. It's crazy.
Was Vision one of the first new characters that came out after the initial box set? He was, right?
He was after the Asgardians. So it was after Wakanda, really? After Asgard. So the models that came out first was the Killmonger Black Panther kit, Shuri and Okoye, Venom, Loki and Hela, and Thor and Valkyrie. They were the next kit, I believe.
Mhm.
because it'll tell you. I can tell you what kid he was. He was CP13, and CP12 was Hela and Loki. Yeah,
I
he was
just
immediately
remember
after the Asgardians.
Yeah, so I just remember we were seeing all this new characters and new things come out, and I remember reading his card, and I'm like, this is all just a lot of new shit, man. Like, this game is opening up, like all kinds of stuff is happening.
Mhm.
But yeah, the Beam 4/5 dice for 0 cost with sap power attached is kind
How
of
about this?
bonkers.
Do you guys remember the only 2 beam attacks we had seen in the game before Vision?
Unibeam.
Was Unibeam, because he's in a starter kit, and Loki's Frost Blast, which is a beam 3 for 4 dice. It was
That's
the
real
only
bad.
free beam attack we had seen yet. And it applies slow if you deal damage. It was meh. Very meh. But then we see this in the very next box. It was like, oh shit, like they're really serious about these beam attacks. Like, and then we basically didn't see one again for a long time. But I think it's very underrated.
Well,
He
I
should be
think
able to place the beam 4 within range 3 of himself. He just does the side to side sweep.
Oh my
Like,
God.
brrr, like that would be so cool.
So since
Jeremy's
Soy
like, no, they
Avenger,
shouldn't.
I'm looking at that, and I mean, I think the only characters that can take the reality gem also have damage reduction, but that the Synthesoid
Well,
Avenger, that
It
power,
doesn't matter, yeah. You're
it
totally
shuts it
screwed
off.
still.
Yeah, that's
Mhm.
cool.
It's like, oh, this skull counts as a crit. Cool. Then it counts as the nether because it doesn't do anything. You're
Yeah.
like, but why?
Yeah,
It's like, oh, cool. So, yeah, it's so good. So the only thing that really gets around it is cover because you can modify the crit still. So you can mod the crit down to a block, but that's about all you're going to do. Like, just think about MODOK, like attacking MODOK and how annoying it is to lose one of your 4 succeeding results on an attack roll. You're losing one of your 3 succeeding results on a defense roll. And it's the critical of all of the things. It's so nuts.
so his offensive power is kind of bananas. It's really good.
Yeah,
That's what
it
we're still
doesn't
at,
look
right?
like it on first glance because you're like, okay, 7 dice physical attack, whatever, and then you kind of later on notice that it's range 3, and then you don't really read it because it's not like a wild effect. You're like, blah blah blah, something about crits, blah blah blah, whatever, and then you're like, oh wait, no, like that's actually amazing.
If you can
This
give
is
some-
one of
Go ahead.
I was just saying, this is one of the few times you can look at something because we say like a lot of dice without modification isn't that good. This is modification. You're modifying your opponent's defense dice. This is probably better than Pierce because Pierce is going to stop at best 1 defense die. This is always happening if they roll a critical, which is potentially going to stop 2 defense dice.
Mhm.
Like, amazing. It's like Pierce on every roll.
So let's give him a rating. We've
On offense, all right, yeah, I'm just talking at this point. It's got to be at least a 6 for me. Like, he has a good throw. He can only throw terrain, but he throws size 3 terrain. It only costs him 2.
Oh no, he can do
generates
characters too. No, he can do characters.
Choose an interactive terrain or enemy. Yeah, I guess I had been doing that wrong. But it only costs 2. He throws size 3 people or stuff. He throws it medium, which is a good range. He generates a shitload of power, so that's not really a stopgap for him. He has 2 great attacks. The only thing he doesn't have is like some kind of like automatic damage ability. He is a little action hungry, I might say that, but he's got to be at least a 6.
A 6 feels right. I'll go with that.
Looking at some of the other 6s in the game, he enables himself so well. Maybe that's the choke point. Is just can he do everything at the same time? And the answer is no. He only has 2 actions. And can he modify his dice? No. And those, I guess, are the only 2 reasons why maybe he's not a 7. But when I look to him, like, is he as strong as Thor on offense? He throws and he has 2 attacks. He doesn't charge though, but they're so far ranged. Is he as good as? But he doesn't modify his. He's so interesting because, like you said, he doesn't modify his own dice, so it's hard to compare him against.
Honestly,
Captain Marvel.
he is very comparable to Thor in damage. He has a similar
Really?
throw that's not quite as good, but it's cheaper. He has a very similar AoE type of attack. His is a beam instead of being AoE 2, but it's free versus costing 6, right? Like that's a pretty noticeable difference in power cost. So you would expect it to be worse. But I would actually argue this attack is better than Thor's lightning ability. And then Synthesoid Avenger is better than Thor's strike, obviously, but I mean it's supposed to be better. It doesn't have the wild and the stuff. Maybe it's not quite better, but still really good. He doesn't have the power choke that Thor has, though. Like, he has enough power. He can do his thing. I don't know. I think he's slightly worse than Thor, but he's supposed to be because he's only 4 points. I think he's at least a 6. I don't know if he makes it to a 7. 7's pretty high.
Okay.
He doesn't have any action economy, which a lot of the high offense people do. Like, he doesn't have a charge. He doesn't have a hit and run. He doesn't have a double attack where he can like do like the chain attacks like Doomsday Chair. So I think
he's also not
6,
modifying.
right?
Yeah, he's not modifying his dice in any way. 6.
Yeah, no rerolls. So defense. Really the question is how many people are attacking him, I feel. If he can afford to use phasing correctly, then he's actually very defensive. 6 health. I mean, 2 defense dice is obviously bad, but it's pretty hard to get him in that situation.
He's immune to bleed, which is a big deal these days. So that
True.
adds in there.
A lot of bleeds. I think he's going to stay phased most of the time, because if you attack him with a physical attack, he can use enhanced density. He cannot react to a collision by going into enhanced density.
Mm-hmm.
So if he's phased, he's immune. Well, actually, it doesn't really matter, because if he's phased, he's immune to the collision. And if he's enhanced density, he has... Well, actually, he doesn't. It just says when defending against. So yeah, your dodge rolls are always on 2 dice, which is kind of sad, I guess.
That's scary.
But he doesn't suffer collision damage. So how?
Yeah, you
under
don't
what
suffer
circumstances?
collisions while you're phased.
So you'd stay phased most of the time.
You would stay phased most of the time, unless you're like getting wailed on. So enhanced density, he can't be pushed, but he gains 3 additional defense dice against physical attacks, but not against dodge rolls. It's weird. And then on phased, he doesn't suffer collisions. I don't know why they didn't. Maybe they were worried he'd be too good against throws if he got 5 dice and then immune, because he'd never be weak to throws.
It is really cool that he can
seems
just
like an oversight.
It is really cool that he just like hard counters defensively. He just hard counters things like Shuri and stuff like that. He just like I'm gonna pushing you all day, and he's like, no, you won't. Like I'll take 1 damage from your beam. I don't care that I have 2 energy defense. I'll take 1 damage from your beam to sit here all game long and never get moved.
Yeah, and they'll just walk up and one-shot her.
Yeah.
Like, goodbye, Shuri.
Yeah. I actually really like his defense because, like we said, he almost always has the power to do the thing he needs to do to switch to it. And 0 collision damage, no collision damage, not... How many... Is there another thing in the game? Is it Thanos is the only thing? Thanos or other...
Thanos isn't immune to collision. Thanos is actually vulnerable to like big throws, like size 4 throws. Actually do reasonable damage to Thanos.
I think he's
only going to stop like 2 of it.
Yeah, and the fact that he could just say no collision damage, it's not like an addition to his defense or a mod on his roll. That's so good.
Yeah, which is actually funny. You can throw people into him, and he doesn't suffer the collision.
Right.
Boop. All right, so defense numbers. Sorry, I'm lagging us behind here. I need to be pushing us ahead. 5? Maybe 5's a little high. So many people don't have an answer for collisions or pushes, and he has an answer for both. It's just hard to rate him below that. But he can't be strong against both, right? He has to be strong against one, and it costs you power every time you switch. Like, Magneto would be like this guy's worst enemy, because he would just walk up and he's like, I throw something at you. It's like, all right, well, if he's phased, then you throw shit at, or if he's phased, you attack him. He has to switch to enhanced density and not take a shitload of damage. And then you throw shit at him because he can't switch forms again. And then, he just takes a bunch of damage from throwing.
I mean, I'm fine with a 6-point super niche, awesome damage dealing character to be the thing that it takes to really remove vision easily. Like,
yeah, right. Like, Magneto answers a lot of questions.
Right.
So, especially if they're within range 3. Good news is he can shoot. He can actually create some problems for Magneto, because if Magneto walks up and or like some reason you stay alive, or you just get field dressing, or next turn you activate while injured, you can Synthezoid Avenger him. Even if he spends for force projection, he's actually not that safe, because changing the math on his defense dice means that he's only defending against 1.5 on his 6 dice, and you could very easily kill him.
Yeah.
Especially if you're looking at like 8 power.
Oh, one more thing defensively, we remembered the other day. Avengers team ability lets him rapid phase for 1 at the beginning of every one of their turns. So
It's true.
even if he has only 1 power, he's going to get to do that every time they attack him. So he can very often choose his the correct answer for his opponent in Avengers, since he'll likely be in Avengers.
Definitely.
So
it also makes his size 3 throw only cost 1 because you're never going to rapid phase on your own turn.
Yeah, that's so cool.
Yeah, so it makes him extremely power efficient in addition to his power generation. But we were talking about
I think
defense.
it's 5.
So I said 5. Jeremy, did you agree with the 5? Did you disagree?
Who's on the list that's a 6?
Defense list at 6. We have Corvusclave with the Reality Stone, Thor,
Vision's better than Thor.
Drax.
Vision's as good as Drax.
Yeah, I think Vision's about as good as Drax.
So I 6.
Yeah, true.
I mean,
Let's
he's
do it.
got
Thor
so
has
many answers.
Thor has 14 hit points and healing. So
Yeah, but this guy ignores shit, and he ignores bleed. Like, he can't.
we also
like, the
gave
easiest-
Miles Morales and Venom a 6.
Yeah, like, I think he fits in a 6 because this guy has so many weird answers that are just strange that I think are very important. Like, you can't throw a truck at him. Like, how big a deal is that? Like, holy shit.
Sometimes you can.
Well, sometimes.
I think that's part of the play on the boards. Like, you have to convince him to go into enhanced density, and then you throw the truck at him because he has no answer once he's in enhanced density to the truck. He has no response. He just takes it to the face and probably takes 4 damage.
Although as a Vision player, 2 defense dice is not the worst thing in the world. A lot of characters deal with that all game long.
Most people just roll 3. Yeah,
So-
most people just
right.
roll 3 and die anyway.
Right. So like you could say, like, if you're looking at your opponent and the truck's right there and you're like, well, I know he could throw it and do automatic damage to me, so I'll let him roll the dice, I'll let me roll the dice, and maybe I'll take 2. So there's something to be
You are in Avengers. You could just have your Hulk throw the truck first.
right. Like
Yeah. So
The best
I feel
part
good about
is
a
you
6.
put him in phased mode and stand people behind him so they can't throw stuff through him. Because the stuff still collides with him, he just doesn't suffer the collision.
What a jerk.
which is funny
Yeah, I know.
because
Put him
because
right in Magneto's face.
The logic is it goes through him.
Yeah.
The guy behind him's like, oh my god. Yeah, that's pretty funny. All right.
That's funny.
Support. He doesn't support.
No.
Cool. Moving on. Control. He does some controlling. He throws people, and that's it.
Yep.
Does the throw get him beyond a 2? Probably not. Just a 2.
No.
No.
So he's kind of interesting, although I think he's just finally ends up being a blaster. Is that what you guys think? He seems like more of like a jack of all trades character at first, but the more I look at him, I think he's just a blaster. He just wants to get into a position and turret people to death.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he's got a beam 4, man. Use that thing.
Even his, what you would assume was a punch, is range 3, which is like, I don't understand what Synthesoid Avenging is, but apparently it hurts.
It's a big
That's exactly
deal.
okay. So the whole time we were talking about Synthesoid Avenger, I was listening to you, but the other half of my brain was going, "What the hell does a Synthesoid Avenger attack look like? Like, what is
I
that?"
think it's when he phases and puts his hands inside of you and
Yeah.
tears you apart.
Oh my
That's
God.
a very
That's
common
what it is.
thing. He does that to robots a lot.
It's a fatality.
They don't show that. They don't show that many of them versus the peoples
Yeah.
on the TVs.
Yeah.
All right, so let's do an overall rating. I think this guy is dramatically underrated. Now that we've reviewed him, I'm going to definitely get him on the table tomorrow. So, Victor Shade gets a 5.8 from me. 5 pizza rolls. Jeremy, what do you think?
I feel good in around a 5. 5 or a 6. I can be convinced either way. I like him.
Ooh, I could be convinced into a 6 as well.
Parker,
Ratings
can you
hike!
convince us?
Parker, go.
I was actually going to say a 6, so I think he's a 6.
Make your argument. Talk us up.
I think he's a 6 because when you're talking about like a 4-point package, he does all the things he needs to do all by himself, and then in his faction, he just greases the wheel super well without needing any help other than like the faction trait. And you could also drop him in other factions where you want power, and he's going to generate so much of it as like a little battery that also kills you. One more thing about him that I think is super cool is he has two things that we really want all the time: the ability to ignore terrain as damage done to you, and the ability to not be pushed. Like, you can win a game by clicking enhanced density and then sitting on a point, and your opponent looks at you and go, well, shit. Like, that was it.
Yeah.
I can't do anything. Because what I have to do is push you. All I have is, I have Black Panther, I have Shuri, I have, some push effect, and that's what I had to beat you, and I don't have it. You're Victor Shade. I think he's a 6.
I mean, there are the games where their whole plan is, I have Shuri and Black Panther, so I'm going to win the Secures, and then Vision is just standing there like, nope. Like, uh-oh.
So if he's so good, why don't we take him? Like,
It's 4 points, and we play in Kansas City, so 4-point characters give us, like, Poison Ivy or something, I don't know. Like, we just don't take 4-point characters.
I also think I think, Jeremy, you actually hit the nail on the head a little earlier. You said, when did he come out? He was, him, Hawkeye, and Black Widow too. Agent Widow. All three of them came out at the same time, and only Hawkeye kind of popped into everybody's mind as a super interesting character.
Because this is when COVID hit.
Oh yeah, COVID killed the Synthoid.
This is when the first he came out literally the week we heard Adepticon was canceled. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, it could be.
On the plus side, everyone owns this character. Do you know why?
What card comes with that?
Because he comes
pack?
with field dressing. Field dressing.
Yeah.
Everyone owns this model. So just go play him, guys. He's in your box somewhere. Dig him out.
So Cabal plus Enchantress plus Vision.
Oh, I've already built a list. Yeah, I'm going to play MODOK and Enchantress and Vision, and I'm just going to move everyone into lines and just beam through them. It's going to be amazing.
All the power.
Line up and die, please. All right, so we need the rating.
6.
Parker, did you actually talk us up to a 6, or did you say the number 6?
I said the number 6.
You actually have to do some convincing.
Oh, I thought I did. I thought he did. He does... Everything he does with his own package. He doesn't need any support to do something really strong.
Oh, that's right. I remember that now.
And he does really well in his faction. His faction does a great job too.
His faction helps him, but what sell me on what other affiliation he's good in. He's obviously the only character that can make X-Men Blue work, because that is just a giant trash fire.
Yeah. What other faction does he go into? One of the hardest things about him, the hardest sell about him, is he's a 4-point character, right? So you have to be willing to drop your in-faction 4-point character that's probably a premium to get your affiliation to replace him. And in my opinion, the 4-point characters that I'm taking out of faction right now because they're really cool abilities are Venom and Sabretooth and some of these reflexive characters. And I think he does as much offensively, and the ability to... I think phasing is actually super amazing. I think the ability to just... say, I'm not going to take this 5 or 4 damage your list can do, or I'm just going to ignore your scenario thing that the way that you're going to win is by getting up on scenario. I'm just going to make that not happen.
Okay.
I think he's a 6.
All right. 6 it is. Moving on to our final character today, and oh my god, we're running long on time, so let's try and get through this.
Okay.
The Wasp.
White
I can do this.
All right,
Protestant.
we've done the Wasp. Let's move on.
Okay. The Wasp is I'm gonna here we go. So the Wasp is like Ant-Man. She has 2 characters in one. The things that are similar across all of her versions is that she has 3 points. She has 3 physical defense, 2 energy defense, 3 mystic defense. She has 5 health on both sides. On her normal normal size, she is a speed medium character in size 2. She has a size-changing Smackdown, a 3 range, 0 cost, 5 attack dice, and she gets power for it. After this attack is resolved, she go small. She has change size, which costs 1 to make her tiny. She has Pym Discs, which is a 3 cost, only terrain feature of size 3 or less, throw medium. And then she can reflexively go tiny if she's attacked for 1 power. She flies. On her tiny side, she is speed long and size 1. She has an energy Stinger Blast that has 2 range only with 5 attack dice, and she gets power for every damage. And your opponent does not gain power for damage done with Stinger Blast. Wasp Fury is her 2-cost attack, range 3, 6 dice, and after this attack is resolved, she can immediately advance medium. And then she transforms back in the Wasp, normal size. She can change size when she's tiny. She has Tiny Superhero, which is the same as before, and we're rolling defense and dodge dice, and can't hold objectives. She has Stealth, and she flies on both sides. That's pretty fast. Jeremy, what do you think about her offensively?
I mean, the only thing I see interesting is she is range 3, with 5 power, and then she can do a throw for 3, of something. Again, I don't see the point. I have trouble understanding why she even is. I don't get it. Brandon,
can I tell him?
Mm-hmm.
Don't care.
The reason this model was printed is so that you can play special delivery on She-Hulk. That's the reason. Moving on. It's a speed long drop off. That's the only reason. I don't know. This character initially seems more functional than Ant-Man, but I think in reality she's less functional because the reward seems like less. Like, her attacks aren't as powerful as Ant-Man's, like, just objectively, right?
Mm-hmm.
She has a range 3 6-dice attack that costs 2 instead of costing 0. But she's more mobile, kind of, but Ant-Man has Hitch a Ride, so she's not. I don't know. It just seems like they kind of miss the point on these characters. Like, they don't, like, what's the Rube Goldberg machine doing? Like, we don't know. It's like step 3 Ant-Man Wasp, right? Like, that's not a reason to do this.
Mm-hmm.
It just feels like they stapled a bunch of random rules to her card. Like, I also don't even know, does the change size, I assume that's restricted based, because change size is printed 4 times on her card. It's so confusing. It's the same power printed in 4 different places on her fucking card. And then it's like, is this change size the same as that change size, which is the same as that change? Are they all the same power, or are they 2 separate powers? Like, I just don't get it.
I will say this about her offense. She's a little bit less like Wombo Combo than Ant-Man, is that if she's in normal form, if she's at range 3 of something, she could stand there, hit them with a 5-dice basic. If she gets 2 power from it, which is not, horribly likely, but, could happen, then she could immediately use Wasp Fury to advance medium and then go back to normal. But you don't want to be.
But then she's normal size.
Yeah, but you don't want to be in normal, right? And so it is the only thing that might be useful is that she can actually, if she starts the turn with 2 power, let's say it's the opening turn, opening combat, so she has 2 power.
Okay.
She hits somebody with side change smackdown, so she gets 2 more. She Wasp Furies, moves, goes small, then moves medium and becomes big, and then she can actually hit change size, right? Because she hasn't used that power yet. Sure,
we're assuming though that you're just starting within range 3 of somebody else, and you what's like, if your whole plan was like, I'm just gonna double move medium into range 3 of somebody on turn 1, it's like, okay, like, I guess, like, there's a lot of characters that can do that and then, like, are good afterwards, though. Like how is Valkyrie not better than this character?
I guess,
like,
maybe she's supposed to be like a third. Maybe you're supposed to be tiny when you start, and you're like doing Stinger Blast and then something. I don't know.
And then change size back to small, so you can Wasp Fury back to large, which okay. So Ant-Man is just confusing, right? Because you're like, well, you just want to be in small all the time, except when you're bullet ant barraging, which you somehow are magically finding 4 power in your pocket for, and then somehow getting back to small again, Like, that it just doesn't make sense. It feels like a broken chain. This chain makes sense to me. It's like a flow chart. But it's just like, why? Like, we get to the end and you're like, look at everything I've done. It's like, yeah, okay. Like, you kind of did some damage. Like, how is this good? It's just my question. It's like, okay. Like, how is this better than Black Widow, who just shoots you 4 times for 4 dice?
No, like, you're 100% right. She just drops off She-Hulk. That's it.
Yeah.
She's good for that.
Yeah,
and then probably being
her
there,
card
not being
should just
shot.
say spend 3 power and then, or spend 3 points to move She-Hulk once. Like, that's basically what her card says. I just don't see the point, because at least Ant-Man has the upside of big damage. Like, her damage is very meh. Like, 2 power for 6 damage dice on energy is okay, but it's not sustainable. Like, the attack doesn't generate power, and outside of that, she basically has a strike. It's like, look what I've done. I've spent power, I've changed size, I've swapped out models, and now I have a 5 dice strike attack. And you're like, yeah, so does literally fucking every character on this fucking board.
Well,
like,
it is. I don't think she's. I don't think you take her for damage, obviously, because she's just going to do little bitty hits, and they're not going to be super consistent. But she is pretty mobile, right? But again, I'm not advocating for the Wasp.
She can't hold extracts.
Like, I'm not advocating for the Wasp. I'm just saying that I just unlike.
That's my point. I don't understand the reason.
Yeah.
And I know I'm not saying you need to explain it to me. I understand that. I don't want you to feel defensive, but it's like, well, we're not taking her to deal damage. We're taking her if she's mobile. It's like, well, what's the point of being mobile if being mobile doesn't generate damage or scenario points? What was the point of being mobile?
Well, I was gonna say
it's like Nebula's real fast, but she can't attack.
She can still secure things, right? Even if she's tiny, right?
Yeah, but the secures don't generally move around. Like they can just stand there too.
Right.
And how does she clear a point? Yeah.
Yeah. Again, Ant-Man and Wasp are tiny trash, but
at least they don't litter a lot because they just shrink themselves down to little less annoying sizes.
They fix garbage. Yeah.
I just don't get it. It doesn't make sense to me from a game design standpoint. I think the characters are semi-interesting, and the movies actually weren't that bad, but I just don't understand the point of the models. They just feel very forced. It almost feels like Disney said, you have to make Ant-Man and Wasp models. And they were like, okay. And they literally just wrote some stuff down and released it. They're like, whatever. It just doesn't feel well thought out. All the other models in the game feel like they really put some time into the essence of this character. And the essence of these characters, they change size and stuff, so do that. That's what they did. It annoys me. I don't know. I don't understand the point. So offense, she doesn't have a lot of offense. She just basically tags people for basic amounts of attack. She's semi-mobile, but not really, because Ant-Man's actually more mobile than she is, because his movement doesn't cost power. Her move long is mostly irrelevant, because if you're in small form, you're probably attacking, because, I guess if you went small after, I don't know. The move long seems like it's never going to really matter. I guess you could first turn activate Shrink, double move long, but I don't know what that does for you, really. I guess you're more defensive. I mean, it's probably the right call, but I don't know. Just very
give her a number, Brandon.
Okay, sorry. Thank you for getting me back on topic.
Mm-hmm.
3, 4, probably 3.
All right, so I have an opinion. Hold on here.
She at least actually can benefit from the Avengers faction ability. That's at least something.
She does have a throw.
She has an ability that doesn't cost 1.
All right, well, first off, the most important thing is every time you attack, you have to say, I am attacking with my tiny Stinger Blast, or I'm attacking with my tiny Wasp Fury. That's important for later. Okay. But actually, my point here is her Stinger Blast is actually significant, because that damn thing, target character does not gain power for damage dealt by this attack, which is pretty serious. She can go up and do 1 or 2 damage, and then whoever kills her next they're not going to be able to do it with a super punch. They'll have to do it with a tiny punch.
Luckily, they'll still gain the 5 power from strangling her to death.
With her tiny Stinger Blast, you mean?
I mean, it just seems like an annoying character that doesn't help you win the game.
Annoying like a wasp?
I guess. It's
you did say they didn't capture the essence. I think
they're not survivable enough to, actually fight in prolonged fights. They're only good if you actually line up all of their stuff in a row. I feel like if your opponent's allowing you to just be in the right size at the right time, is because they're not doing something right. Does their reactive shrink work if they make a dodge roll?
Yes.
Oh, it doesn't matter. They don't reroll.
Or would suffer a collision.
Or suffer a collision. Yeah, okay. All right, so that at least works. I'm just thinking, if they get stuck in medium, do you just throw stuff at them? They die?
I actually think it's worse than what you described. I actually think it's worse than what you described. If I'm piloting Ant-Man and the Wasp, if I'm piloting, the Wasp, we're talking about her right now, I'm scratching my head the whole time and going, okay, how can I make this do a thing? How can I make this do a thing? I'm trying to think of the best case scenario, and it's not that good.
Oh, when She-Hulk is standing right next to her, nobody's coming near you, obviously. They're just getting beat the shit out of, and she'll be like, my new best friend! Like,
I was like, but that's true of literally any model you put on the table. Like, that just... I have this base standing next to She-Hulk. What is it? Actually, never mind. I don't care. Like,
run away.
Actually,
that doesn't help.
That's actually one of the reasons why I want to put Captain Marvel with She-Hulk. Another talk about another time. But anyway,
that's actually a good combo.
Yeah. So let's talk number for her. You said 4
on offense.
Yeah.
I think 4 is the highest I'll go. Actually, I take that back. 3. She just does less damage than Ant-Man. She has a throw where he doesn't. It only throws terrain, so your maximum damage output's much lower than a throw that could throw a person. But she caps out at 6 damage dice, which is a decent amount. But I don't know. It's not that impressive. I don't know where she's getting all this power, because she's not going to have the 3 power to throw stuff unless she's actually fighting people. I just don't see her fighting people and dealing damage with 5 dice attacks.
4. Let's go. Done. 4.
Whoa, that's really high. Parker, what do you think?
I actually, for offense, I say 3, because she's got movement and mobility, but that doesn't help her do more damage. So 3.
Yeah,
she does a tiny amount of damage.
Moving on.
She's tiny.
But all of her none of her mobility gets her into combat. Her mobility happens once she's in combat.
Yeah.
Like, it lets her move out of combat. Like, how is that helping your damage? She has no gun.
But now she's surviving with all those objective tokens she doesn't have. Okay, yeah. Defense.
Okay.
Defense.
Yeah, it's just like your rules are fighting you, and it just doesn't make sense because
but there's so many of them.
There's so many rules.
There's so
and
many.
They work actively. They work actively against you, but at the same time, like, is it worth it? Like, if you put up with all the stuff and you manage to get all of the things working in synchronicity with each other, like, now what? Now you're an average character? Like, at least Ant-Man had big numbers. Like, she doesn't have big numbers. Like, I don't understand the point.
What's her defensive rating for you then?
4. She's slightly above the average character in the game, which is a 3. And that's only because she's going to spend all of the power she gets for the entire game to stay in tiny mode, which gives her stealth and rerolls.
Jeremy?
Yeah, that sounds fine. A tiny
4 it is.
I say a 4 because I think she might stay on the board most of the game, maybe all the game, not doing anything, but she'll be there.
I mean, you just put her first turn. You deploy them directly across from the middle objective, right? First turn, they both go tiny and run to the corners of your deployment zone. You're like, they're gonna live. You're like, okay, like,
man, victory point vaults. Ant-Man and Wasp.
Vaults, yeah. They're trapped in the victory point vault, away from all the victory points.
All right.
Oh my god.
All right. Support. She doesn't do any support.
No
right?
support.
No support at all.
She carries.
I'm not counting special delivery as support.
Oh, okay.
I'm not counting that.
Are you?
Because literally, like 10 characters can.
I was gonna say,
she's just good at it.
She can make. Wait. Remember, she can do the pin particle disc tactics card to give somebody else the ability to throw.
Yeah, we're moving on.
I
thought Wasp was the better of the two, and the more we talk about this, I think she's the worst of the two.
Yeah.
She is in a better faction than... She's better in both of the factions she's in than the one faction Ant-Man is in.
That's true.
Because she at least gets a bonus from both factions.
Fact.
Control. Yep. Yeah, she gets 2 more faction bonuses than Ant-Man does. She has no control.
No control. No.
I don't see any.
Not one.
Out of control.
She can't throw people. She doesn't debuff anybody. She has 0 control. So she's a 1. Moving on. I guess Skirmisher, right?
Yeah, she's a Skirmisher.
She moves around a lot.
Yeah.
I guess.
Bob and weave.
Sting and move. Sting and move.
Sting and move. All right, 3-4-1-1 Skirmisher that costs 3 points. It's just like, why wouldn't you take Iron... We were just talking about how bad Iron Man is. She just seems like a bad Iron Man.
Yeah.
Iron Man can hold a point. Iron Man can pick up an extract. Iron Man can actually deal damage. Iron Man doesn't die instantly. Like, what does she do? I don't get it. I feel like we're missing something. Like, maybe we need to play these characters more, because I just don't get it.
Brandon, can you rate her a 2, please?
I'm rating her lower than Ant-Man. What did Ant-Man get?
Oh,
Ant-Man
Ant-Man got
got a 2.
I think she's got to be a 2. I don't
she's
think
not
she
Ebony
was...
Maw bad.
No, she's not.
Because Ebony Maw is this bad, but also costs 5 points. That's why Ebony Maw is a 1.
Yeah, he's
She
a
at least
Victor
only
Point vault.
Costs 3.
Yeah, he's a 5-point Victor
How about
Point.
we rate them together? If you take Ant-Man and Wasp, it's a 1. They get cumulative -1.
Right, because you took a 6-point nothing. Yeah.
Oh, man. Yeah. The only way to waste more points than Ebony Maw, unless you take Ebony Maw with a Power Stone, then it's still worse. Ebony Maw gets a 0
Okay.
if you take the Space Stone.
Also, here's another point for a 2 is that in A-Force, she will actually drop off She-Hulk, which is probably not the
No,
right
she
choice.
won't. Angela will. Because
No.
it's even further, because she's
Oh, I
on
know.
a medium base.
I know Angela or Captain Marvel will, but she technically
Captain Marvel's
can.
probably the one.
Yeah.
If you were like, how can I possibly drop her off with the least point investment possible? Wasp is the answer.
Yeah.
You
So I
saved
think
a
she's a
point,
2.
But
not
does he?
your dignity.
Not that it matters, but I don't think it needs to be an A-Force character, does it? It's just a flying model, right?
Ooh, that's a good question.
Does that change the rating from a 2 to a 1?
When
I
an
don't think it
A-Force
does.
character with flight, it does have to be an A-Force character.
Yeah. So yeah, she's a 2.
What'd you say, Jeremy?
Oh, I is she a 2? Let's just move on.
Yeah, it's a 2. A 2-. She's worse than Ant-Man, just for clarity.
What a terrifying sound. Worse than
Janet
Ant-Man.
Van Dyne. Janet Van Dyne.
You might say they deserve each other. I don't know. I feel bad for ragging on them, but Pagani, this is your fault. You can't put this on us for trashing your characters. You made these.
I would give you, so you can have Wasp, Ant-Man, and any 2-point character, and I get to take Magneto. Deal? You won't take that bet. That ain't fucking happening.
I mean, I won't. I'm just saying if Rocket can make up enough of the weight. All 3 size 1 characters, we can do it, guys.
Let's
because
go.
I'm going to put Ant-Man and Wasp in front of Rocket so you can't throw shit at him. And then just stand out of range 3 of Magneto.
They're Victor Point vaults. Yeah.
Yeah. They're just going to block the throws with their corpses. I'm going to hope that you don't one-shot me with your 1 attack you get against Rocket while I'm shooting you from range 5.
Yeah, it's not good.
Yeah, that seems bad. Not only would he kill all 3 of them, he'd do it with a smile on his face.
Oh yeah, and
It's like
half
you
an
people are
activation.
mutants.
He'd still have power to throw a couple more things.
He wouldn't attack them. He would just throw stuff at them and attack other people for power. So let me attack someone worth my time. Where's Hulk? Hulk, take 18 damage. All right, you guys die.
Okay, quick hypothetical situation. If Ant-Man was 2 points, could you take
he'd be good
him?
for 2.
Oh, yeah. No, he'd be solid for 2.
Even
it's just
with,
that you...
even
for
with
3
the fact that
points, you
he's
can
so
get
anchored...
characters that actually help.
Right.
For 2 points, you expect there to be deficiencies.
Right.
For 3, I mean, for 3 points, you have to say, I'm not going to take Baron Zemo. I'm not going to take Valkyrie. Like, when a 3-point character, there's certain things that you just decide. Like, ooh.
Okay, how about this? Look at it from this perspective. Red Skull's a good character, right? Solid, well-rounded, decent leader. Would you pay 6 points for Red Skull? Because that's the same amount of, like, percentage increase we're talking about. Nobody would play Cabal if Red Skull was 6 points.
Mm-hmm.
Correct.
It's just objectively not worth that. And so, like, if Magneto was 9, nobody would take him. Like, it's 50% more expensive than the other character that we're talking about. Like, at 2 points, I would actually say these guys are very strong. And so, like, point cost is the most important thing, but it's just like they don't contribute enough to attrition, and they don't contribute enough to scenario play. I guess you could argue that in certain situations they can do both enough to make up their point cost. I just don't see it.
I think that if you got rid of their reroll on their defense dice when they're small, put them at 2 points, and maybe drop a health point on the front or something, they'd be perfect. 2-point character right there. Done.
What we need is, I think, like we say this with every game, but we need to double the points,
Mm-hmm.
and then we'll have, like, basically 2.5-point models, right? So, like, in the new system, a 6-point model would be Zemo, and then these guys could be 5. And so there'd be a variation between them. Because if the problem is we were to put all 3-point models against each other, it's not fair. Like, Ant-Man and Wasp are at the bottom of the curve, just there with Crossbones. And we've got, like, Zemo, Valkyrie, Drax at the top. It's like, you can't compete with those guys. Like, Drax would kill both Ant-Man and Wasp by himself and laugh about it afterwards. Like,
by the way,
no
he would actually laugh about it. Yeah.
He's just like, tiny people, like, just stabbing. Like, what are you doing? Like, there's no way out of this for you. Like, it's like, what do you do? Hit me and run away? Okay. I'll randomly tag you once and you die. Anyway. Like the rigmarole they go through, and Ant-Man's best attack is 7 dice. Drax can roll like fucking 12 dice against one guy by himself, like with nobody's help. And he has more hit points than them, and he has damage reduction. Like, there's no question who's better. And so it just feels like they're missing something. Like, they were intentionally designed to be weaker than everybody else almost. But one thing I will say about them, they do fit a playstyle. If you enjoy reactive characters where you make a lot of decisions, as opposed to characters like Drax and Crossbones where you basically just stand there and wait for people to go, then this is your playstyle. You should play these because you're going to enjoy it. I mean, we're talking about very small percentage differences, right? Like, we're not talking about, like, well, when you're saying, like, would you take an 8 points of those 3 miles, like Rocket, Ant-Man, and Wasp versus Magneto? It's like, well, realistically, Magneto can't win that fight if that's the entire game, because I'm going to win on scenario. Like, eventually I'll win that, because being outnumbered is a big downside. Now, if we were fighting to the death, then no, but these characters are obviously not designed to do that. Mm-hmm. Like, their win scenario is not attrition play. They're not going to beat you to death.
I mean, can Magneto spend 1 and become tiny? No, he cannot.
That's true.
He cannot.
Whole different level.
One of the things that I often stymied by these guys is these guys came out after Drax. Like, these guys came out after Valkyrie, after Zemo. Did they come out after Miles? Did they come out after Miles and Gwen Stacy?
They did not come out. No, wait a second.
I think they didn't. Didn't they come out?
Drax did. The Guardians came out first, but technically, Miles and Gwen are CP10, but they actually came out way later. They came out of order, like way out of order.
Okay.
I don't know if there was like a big delay or something, but they were supposed to be out when Venom came out, and they came out like 6 months later.
Okay. So I guess the point I'm making is that you have all these characters, like you said, dripping with character, super interesting 3-pointers, and then, but Ant-Man and Wasp are coming out. Like, you know what they are. How could you not see what you've done? Like, Victor Frankenstein understood he made a monster, right? He was terrified of it. Like,
and he wanted to kill it immediately, right?
Yeah. It's like, how could you make Ant-Man and Wasp and go, job well done? Like, I just,
How about this?
I'm not mad. I'm not mad at them, but
I actually just thought about something that actually makes me want to play them. What about? Have you ever been in the situation where, like, man, I really want to move this objective to another character, and you're not playing criminals? They can do that because they can play like fetch dogs, right? They could run out, pick up the extracts, run back to your other characters, and then switch to Tiny and drop it.
Yeah,
and then your other character can pick it up. So if you play the Worthy and you just use Ant-Man and Wasp to collect the Worthy hammers, you just dump them all on Magneto. And you're like, Ultimate Magneto, fire! And you just like Omega beam somebody.
Oh my god.
What about that?
I mean, at least that's something.
I just thought about something that's cool with them. But you probably, obviously, if you're playing Ant-Man and Wasp, you need to put some thought into scenario. The fact that they interact very differently with extract missions, you need to be playing missions that they're good with, like alien ship crashes downtown with the Kree Power Core. Well, if there's only one extract, it's not nearly as big of a deal that you can't pick up an extract, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, and also, they can do the thing where they grab it, they move back, and then they drop it, so they don't even take the damage for not attacking. And then you can just get it to your, like, ultimate guy like Thanos or somebody, or whoever's back there to hold it. You give it to Captain America, and then he can just hang on to it for the rest of the game. So I think there's obviously room for play. It's just like, if you're taking these guys, it's because you like the play style of very interactive characters that make a lot of decisions, or you just love the aesthetic of Ant-Man and Wasp and you're a big fan of their comics or the movies or something. Either of those are fine reasons to play them, but if your reason is they're mathematically better than other characters, that's not true. So that's why you're buying them, don't think that's correct.
It is funny. I feel like they belong in a slightly different category than like Ebon Maw, because Maw feels like so bad. It feels like punishment. Like you took him and you will be punished for taking him.
Yeah.
But these characters,
they're not Ebony Maw bad.
Right, yeah. These guys are not punishing. They're not going to make you feel bad, but if you're excited about them winning the game for you and do this really cool, amazing things, the likelihood of them doing that is just low. They're not going to They're not going to make you feel like you're cheating, right? They're not going to make you feel like you're doing some really cool thing. They're just going to be models of the board.
Unlike this, Parker.
Yeah.
So I wanted to say this because I think there is the opportunity of a salvation here. And so me and Parker and sometimes Jeremy and also Jason, friend of the podcast, have been playing Marvel Strike Force, which is the phone game. And we've talked about this before. Disney does a really good job of lining up all of the platforms to have the same thing happening, and a lot of them at the same time-ish. Well, Pimtech, basically the Ant-Man faction, is becoming a big deal in the phone game. And so maybe Pimtech is a faction coming down the pipeline, and we just don't have the other people yet. Because if they release Stature and Yellow Jacket and Ghost, and we get a whole faction of 5 Shrinkers, and they have a really cool faction ability, that could take them from garbage bin back to the playable range.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's hard to totally sleep on them, and like we said, they are playable. They're not complete trash. We just like to make fun of them. So
it's just to me, one of the reasons why my emotional reaction is so emotional is I wanted them to be so good. Marvel Strike Force, I got the Pimtech team because I'm like, I want to play Ant-Man. Yeah, like this.
Tiny people.
I love them. I love the concept. I love the movies. I love everything about Scott Lang. And so it makes me sad when I started reading. I was like, surely I can figure something out. And I'm like, oh man. Oh man.
All right, cool. Well, we should probably wrap this up. We've already been 3 hours. I might be able to cut this down to 2.5, but we're already pushing it. Alrighty. Well, we knew the Avengers one was going to be a long one. We lagged a bit, and I definitely screamed about Pimtech for a long time. So, we're going to have to bump our guest Matt Damon today, and we're going to have to get back to him next time.
Matt Damon.
So, this has been Brandon.
And Parker.
And Jeremy.
Thank you for listening to the True Believers podcast. Goodbye.
Good Lord.
Good.
Hey, if you want better podcast names, give me some better podcast names, and then I'll use them.
I like that. That was a good podcast name.
Yeah, but I only have 4 left, so we really need to come up with some new ones.
Ugh.
And a couple of these I've earmarked for specific releases.
Ugh. All right, we're going to clap. We're going to do that business. Wrap it up.
Yeah, it's 1 o'clock. I've got to work tomorrow.
You fading fast. Fading fast.
Mm.
But if we wait 45 more minutes, then, your time will be up, and you can leave.
Oh my God.
We talked about if you could stay to 1:45.
Oh.
All right, well, I definitely need some water, so let's go ahead and do this.
Avengers.
Some reason we got out fucking Wasp and... I'm looking at Wasp and Ant-Man for the first time in a year and a half or however long.
They're so bad.
Feels like a century ago.
They're the 7th most complicated thing I've ever read in my entire life.
Nah. There's got to be more complicated things. There's got to be a more complicated rule.
No, because at the end of reading them, you just say why, and then you read it again. It's very complicated.
That's true. Because, by the way, no matter how far you go down that rabbit hole, the answer is always why.
It's
why?
like trying to explain to someone all the inner mechanics of a vending machine, and then they get to the end, it's like, why though?
Yeah.
It's like, why don't you just not use a vending machine? You're like, shut up! It's like, was that really worth the effort to make 50 cents?
Mm-hmm.
All right. So just a primer, so you guys, because I know it's been a bit since we rated anything. So, who's played the most Avengers? Is it just me? Has anybody else played a bunch of Avengers?
You.
I've played a little bit of them. I think I played every character except Vision and Ant-Man Wasp. Yeah, but I think I played every other character on there that we're gonna do today.
I'm worried we're going to give the Ant-Man and Wasp a really bad rating, and people are going to hate on us for it, but I just don't see why you play them. I mean, other than, like, preference and aesthetics, like, if you like the Pimtech stuff, obviously you're going to play them, which is fine, but I don't see what value they add.
Yeah.
Alright, so for the ratings, I guess I'll run through their stats and everything. I feel like I talk forever when nobody else is, like, saying good things about the characters. Because if I go through the stats and then I say why... Because usually we run through their stats and then I say, all right, well, this is their offensive capability. And I say, like, good interactions. But then we go into talking about other things. So I just don't want to be the only one talking for, like, a minute at a time each time we do something.
Okay, so are you saying you would like to do stats and then somebody else can talk about, like, things that stand out? Like things that stand. Is that what
either or? Yeah, I mean, but if you guys don't care, I'll do it. I just don't want you guys to feel like you're not saying anything for long periods of time.
Well, it helps because nobody wants to speak over each other. It really does help when you call someone out. You're like, Jeremy, what do you think? Or like that does help a lot because a lot of times I find like I'm just not going to say anything because I don't want to get it all fucked up with all of us talking over each other.
Yeah, with the time delay, it gets hard sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
Invitation. Because you think you're going to come in right as someone stops, and instead they keep going, and so you're just both talking.
Yeah.
Invitations are good, yeah.
All right, well, let's do it this way. Parker, why don't you go through the stats? Okay. And so, do you have the cards available, or do you have MCPDB pulled up?
I got MCP.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, so, and you have the Excel sheet pulled up?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So, the format that we've talked about previously is... you'll go through the whole character stat card first.
Okay.
So like for Ant-Man, you'll go through all of his attacks, his stat line, his special rules. Then we'll start talking about offense. And so we've already run through all the stats, so then it's just going to be people talking about good interactions they know of in the game, or like good things they like about that particular thing. We'll go around the table like we normally do. It'll be me, Parker, Jeremy, normal order. And then we'll give number ratings in the same order.
Okay.
Okay? Everybody good?
That sounds good.
Sure.
Jeremy, you good with that? Okay.
Yeah.
Jeremy, would you rather have it a different way with like the invitation
thing
you're talking about?
I'm only thinking about no, that's all fine. That's fine. That's fine.
I just know in the past when we've done these rating episodes, it feels like I'm the only one talking for so long. And so if we can break that up, I think that'd be better.
Could I suggest then, for the benefit of breaking it up, could the order of discussion afterwards, I could invite you to talk, then Jeremy could give a position, then I could give a position, and then we could rate.
Sure.
That way it's just spreading out that time between one person talking.
Okay, so we're gonna switch the order to me, Jeremy, you.
Yeah. If I'm the one, since I'll talk about stats.
So Parker goes last because he was the first one to talk. All right.
Yeah.
So we'll just roll around the table.
I like that.
All right. Any more preamble stuff we want to talk about?
I think that's about it.
It's interesting with these cards because they're all old. And I know like initially how they came out and what they were doing. And that's what I was kind of thinking of a minute ago, is just how much they have changed with like other tactics cards that have come out or other factions that now exist that didn't exist before. That's just all I was thinking of. And I just took note of it. Not that it's a part of this, but I was just like, huh. You know, I forgot how clean the Iron Man card is. It's nice and tidy.
Yeah.
It just has a couple things and they're good. It's like, I like that.
I'm getting some water.
Yeah.
I think that's something also to discuss during the rating part. Like, it's just that, like, we were talking about like putting things down on the table. Something the Avengers I don't know if it's suffered from it, but since now cards like, for example, Avengers now has Iron Man, right? Like you said, like he doesn't even use half of the card, right? For stuff, and then you got characters like Ant-Man where you got to turn it fucking sideways in order to fit everything.
It has a Death Jack card.
yeah,
it's a Death Jack card.
They have to. Yeah, they have to turn it to what do they call it? A landscape.
Landscape.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the landscape.
In order to make it work. Yeah.
So annoying.
It was so great. I played in a 15-point War Machine League, and I played Karchev and Behemoth, which is like 9 paragraphs of rules. And so it was just like, my opponent's like, so what does your stuff do? And I'm like, you should just read this. Like, you will never remember this if you don't read it. And it's just like 10 minutes later, I'm like, are you done yet? And they're like, no, still on Karchev's card. Like, so how does the healing work? You're like, well, it's a whole thing.
Yeah.
I don't know the name of it. I know the sound it makes when it tears through you.
Yeah.
I don't know why these automatic pistols have been my bane lately, but my god. These fucking rapid fire
You mean,
weapons,
like, the
they're so
fire-
fucking
Oh.
annoying. They're so annoying.
Like you
Take
want
two.
to play
A lot-
them, or you've been had them played against
Against me. A lot of
They're
people
so
like,
consistent.
take 1, take 3, take 1, take 4. What? Your guy's dead!
Mhm.
Yeah,
It's even better when there's 7 dice attacks.
What? A rapid fire 7 dice attack?
Yeah, Punisher with Dune Prophecy.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's cute.
And then all you've got, and so it's like cool.
Yeah.
Okay.
That'd be an interesting list. Punisher, Mystique.
No, it's
Agent
just
Widow.
Punisher.
Oh, it's just Punisher.
No, it's just the one,
Yeah, you can only do it once.
and you wouldn't need to do it more than once. It does a shitload of damage. All right, Parker, you ready for news?
Yeah.
All right.
Been ready. Born ready.
Oh, I didn't do any forum stuff today. Oh, we'll be okay. We have plenty.
Yeah, Avengers is going to be a lot.
I think if we actually speed through it, it shouldn't be too bad.
Mhm.
Because I don't think any of us are really too attached to any of these characters, so it should be pretty dispassionate.
Mhm. That's true. Some people have negative feelings. Captain America.
I think I could kill that motherfucker these days. I ain't worried about him so much.
We have the tools.
The tools now
We can make
exist.
him dead. Even better now.
Magneto does ruin his day, doesn't he?
Not particularly. I mean, it's better than nothing, but yeah, it's still he's still hard as shit to kill.
It's a different game. If you have
But it's
Magneto,
not-
you're not trying to
Yeah.
kill anything like that. You just destroy whatever's near you. Like, if Captain decides to go up there and be like, I'm going to get within 3. Well, you're dead.
Yeah.
That's what I meant. Like, he throws too many things at Cap, right? That's it.
Sure. I mean, that helps, but you still have to deal damage to get power. I mean, if he's already full up on power, that's a whole different problem.
Mm-hmm.
You could also stand somewhere where he has trouble throwing things.